Welcome to Hardly Initiated. It is your host, Tyshawn Jackson, here on this incredible Wednesday evening with the brothers. My co-host, Ryan Ketchens.
What's poppin'?
And we brought in here these two incredible brothers. I got here the frequent flyer of the platform. Here, we in here rocking with Ezekiel Azonwu. And we are also in here with Preston Perry.
What's up with y'all?
Listen, Fight the Flesh. Men's edition.
Let's hey, that point is deadly.
Hardly Initiated. It is your host, Tyshawn Jackson, my co-host, Ryan Ketchens.
I can already tell, man. It's going to be a powerful one right here.
You need to watch, too.
I discovered porn when I was a child. My mom.
To get that white man's oxygen out of him. Pursued me, I ran.
It's the blood I want, don't care.
This is dope.
You need to have a threesome.
There you go. When you miss God, man.
Whoa. Yeah. Hold on.
You're a little rusty in the buttons. Stop that thing. We ready to get started.
We ready to get started, family. What's poppin' with you?
Episode 2, baby. Part 2.
Part 2. We could not leave my men out to dry because the brothers need the game too. Ain't that right, fellas?
Man,
absolutely.
That's right. That's right. Man, we happy to be here, man. It's my third time here.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful to be beside my bro for over a decade. Preston Perry, so much wisdom, so much truth. I met him and his wife on the same day.
Wow.
Nice. On the same day. And they both spit poems I never heard for the first time. We all did poems.
Poets.
Yeah, they went crazy on YouTube, and we've been just building and growing our relationship ever since.
Yeah. Nice. I love that. And listen, if y'all don't know, man, Ezekiel, behind the scenes, he be looking out. Right?
Yeah.
He looks out. And the introduction to Preston is much appreciated. Preston, we happy to have you on the show.
Thank y'all for having me, man. Y'all making my podcast seem real regular. This is fancy. Y'all some fancy black Negroes.
Hey, we trying to come up.
Hey, we doing everything in absolute excellence around here.
We just got a couch and some water. Y'all got everything.
Hey, honestly, y'all going crazy on that couch with the water. Y'all, I don't know if y'all already tapped in. You know, Meet the Perrys. I went ahead and started really digging in, preparing for these conversations, and man. I was really shocked at how I was just falling into those conversations. Y'all having some incredible combos. So when I reached out to Zeke and say, yo, can you know what I'm saying? Can you hit your boy up? You know what I'm saying?
Nah, man.
I want to get the strong men.
Man. That's an honor, man, to be on, man. Y'all really doing y'all thing. Keep it up. I love to see black men doing their thing. So it's tight.
Much appreciated. Now, you know, we had Jackie on last week. Jackie and Megan held it down.
Absolutely.
And I think Jackie was like, she didn't know about that live. That was her first live.
Yeah.
But I think she liked it. I think that was good. So if you like it, maybe we'll be seeing some lives on y'all channel.
Let's do it. I might
Absolutely.
do it.
So listen, family, let's go ahead and get to the sponsors really quickly. I want to let everybody know, if you don't know, this is the Fight the Flesh series, and what we bringing to you guys this month. I'm so excited about this. The Pure 30 Challenge is in full effect. The people are loving it. They're getting involved. The goal of the Pure 30 Challenge, we want to get 10,000 initiates to join us, all right, on this journey. No sex, no porn, no masturbation, 30 days. I know you're scared. I know it, but we got you. Just hang around. Ryan, what's the current count? How many people we got in the challenge?
So check this out.
Point?
I checked out the current count. We officially, it hasn't even been a week because Wednesday makes 7 days. 891 people.
There we go.
Yeah. So now this is the thing. Lano, go ahead and pull up the JPEGs we got. So guys, you got to make sure that you download these. So I'm gonna drop the link in the chat. It's also in the description, because we literally give you a pre-challenge checklist just to get you warmed up.
Yeah.
Because listen, if you don't do these things, it's gonna make that 30 days really, really challenging.
Absolutely.
So you got to make sure you do the pre-challenge checklist. And also, we hooked y'all up with a calendar, so that way, as you log in your commitment, you can actually post it and share with the community, just so you can get that support. And plus, I mean, I like to flex.
Yeah.
You know, I'm close to 2 months in. But I think I'm gonna start posting for the challenge tomorrow though. So I'm gonna kind of do like a challenge within the challenge.
You 2 months in on the journey right now.
Close to 2 months in, absent.
Man,
I am delivered.
I love that. Shout out to my boy, man.
Hey, it's tough work. It is.
I know. Okay, I'm with you, brother. All right, and just in case you forgetting, you need a reminder. We brought you something special as well. We brought you to Fight the Flesh bracelets as a reminder to know who you are, where you are, and what we doing and what we building and working towards. So that is Lano, you bring.
Lano, listen, we just back from break.
Yeah. We getting warmed up. Be patient with us. But let's go ahead and pull up the bracelets because I want you guys to see it here because this is also something that we bring in addition to the challenge. You guys can go ahead as well and cop these bracelets.
It's okay. But as he was saying, the Fight the Fresh bracelets, the reason we got them because it's a memento. It's a token to represent your duty of becoming a better person with stronger relationships. So keep in mind, it's the pre-order. The orders won't actually come in and be shipped to the end of the month.
Yes.
We already got a bunch of orders coming in. And keep in mind, it's limited. We only starting with 500. So if you want to be one of the 500, go ahead and click the link. And I got the discount code still going.
What is that one?
Fight20. So that's FIGHT 20 for 20% off your entire order.
There you have it.
Yep.
There you have it, family. Let's actually get to it here because I'm very excited about this conversation because I know the brothers needed it. First of all, I need it. All right. Ryan told y'all we took this challenge on. You know, we have our Bible study that we in that we were personally inspired and we decided to bring it here to the entire audience to take this journey here with us. And it's really incredible the experience we have. And I know by the conversation I'm having with my brothers, I know what it takes to deal with, especially if we just keep it as sex. Yeah. And the acts of flesh is not limited to just sex. It's bigger than that. It's a few of them. We can get into the details of the verse that inspired that a bit later. But sex is a really big challenge for us as men. Mm-hmm. I'm talking from us dealing with porn in the virtual world of sex, us actually just casual sex and these addictions that come with these women that we bringing into our lives, even the long-term effects into our relationships with us having so many partners, the long-term effects that we don't even really tend to talk about as men. Yeah. I know y'all are actually in the field working with men and seeing and hearing these private conversations that men are telling you guys that they're dealing with. As it relates to sex, what are some of the biggest things that you see in men are struggling with in that part of their lives? I'm calling out Preston for this. Come on, bro.
Tag your man.
Yeah, I think all the things that you said. I think pornography. I think, fornication. And I think just men are trying to find who they are in women and in their body count, right? I think men have an identity issue. And when you have an identity issue, you're going to run to idols, especially when the culture tells you that you're a man, depending on how many women you can get to love you. Like even porn, right? Mm-hmm. One of the reasons why porn is so, attractive to a lot of men, if we're just honest, is we can watch men not be denied or rejected. We can vicariously live through men not being rejected. And so I think sex, I think the world needs to understand that men are way more complex and nuanced than society gives us credit for. It is not merely lust. It is acceptance. It is an identity issue. It is a deep longing to be wanted. And it is a distorted version of intimacy, and I think that's what the enemy wants us to have. It's a distorted version of intimacy.
I'm glad you spoke on that because you don't hear many men, especially, or just anybody, talking about the complexity of man. You usually hear how simple men are. Yeah. And these very, things of pleasure like sex can make a man satisfied. Yeah. And, me personally, when I realized that, all of the agony, all of the pain and sorrow that I was feeling actually came from me being spiritually malnourished, is when I started to actually take action, because I was truly convinced that sex and, like you said, the amount of bodies you putting up, the score you putting up, whether that's money or sex, was literally all you needed to be a man.
Likewise.
Yeah. I think we have to deal with, I call it the hunger, right? For us as young boys, we grow up with these natural instincts to desire. We want this closeness. We want even just natural curiosity to satisfy this or scratch this itch. We want to satisfy this hunger. And when we see in scripture in Luke chapter 4, we see the actual real time where Jesus was tempted by Satan, and the first point of temptation was through hunger. Jesus had just come off a 40-day fast, 40 days and 40 nights. The enemy knew it. So at the point of contact of hunger, he said, why don't you take this stone, turn it into bread, and consume it. See, the travesty wouldn't have been Jesus doing a miracle and changing stone into bread. Jesus did miracles all the time. He turned water into wine, and it wasn't a sin. Jesus did all types of miracles that were transformational. The problem would have been at the suggestion of the enemy. The enemy entices those in the dynamic of hunger to engage in what we call perversion, using something that was meant for something else for something completely different. And so now you have, at the suggestion of the enemy is causing us to take what was meant, sex, intimacy. God created intimacy as good. See, when we get into these spaces, purity challenges, and sometimes we start to, okay, we're not going to have sex. We start to get these ill feelings about sex. Sex bad. Nah, sex is amazing, but we've been so driven and inclined to using it out of order, or another word is using it in a perverted way. So I think if we could identify those hunger points where the enemy had introduced those ideas to us, it's really important to get that. And the last point I want to make about introducing is introductions matter. When something is introduced to you, especially when you're immature, especially when you're hungry, you tend to take that thing and use it as a point for satisfaction, even if it doesn't satisfy. Here's my example. Like when we was kids, when we was hungry, you know what we would do? We would use it was at that time, I think 50 cents. It could have been 99 cents. And we would get a bag of Cheetos, hot Doritos, or whatever we would get. And we would eat Doritos when we were hungry. You talk to grandma and them, they'd be like, stop eating them chips, because that's not going to satisfy you. Here's some potatoes and here's some steak. But in our minds, I need chips because I'm hungry. And that we created these patterns over the course of our lives where every time we were hungry, we ran to chips, even though it didn't satisfy us. So we got to think about, why am I stuck on a pattern of eating chips? Because it was introduced to me as the thing that can satisfy my hunger, even though it didn't at the point of hunger. So if masturbation was introduced to you to satisfy hunger, even though it never satisfied, I'm 37 years old still battling masturbation because something in the back of my mind tells me that this can make me feel better, and we substituted feeling better for feeling whole.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that really made me think back to introduction, because I think my generation has a unique relationship with sex, being that we were brought up into the internet era.
Ooh.
Because
we had dial-up too.
Man.
Right. It took a
Let me
while.
tell you. I remember being 8 years old, finding Pop's porn bag.
Oh no.
You know, the bag in the closet, all the videos.
All-
Was it
all-
magazines?
all the way
all
in
the
the top.
DVD. No.
It was always tapes.
It was tapes and DVDs.
For us. I'm probably a little older than y'all.
No,
I'm
no,
like,
no,
y'all
it
some
was-
nasty. Every time I go on somebody's mattress, I see some tapes.
It was.
Yep, tapes and magazines.
I had DVDs too.
Oh, yeah, you young.
No,
It was
but-
tapes and DVDs, and eventually I leveled up. And by the way, 8 years old, and eventually I leveled up to Google, where whatever my mind thought of, this was probably around 12 years old, I could literally, what I would typically have to ask my mom, and she said, don't worry about what titties is, don't worry about titties.
Wow.
I can now just search it and see endless amounts of pages of all these things that my mind was not ready for. And you talk about young men now having 2 decades worth, and I'm talking about some men every single day.
Absolutely.
For 2 decades downloading in their mind and hearts pornography, which, like you said, the hunger hits, the desire hits, and now they've taught themselves, this is how I deal with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some men have even convinced themselves that this is the healthiest way, or an healthier way, to deal with my desire. I might as well do this, because I mean, at least I ain't gonna get nobody pregnant. At least I ain't getting no STD. At least I'm not doing these different things. If I'm with my lady, at least I ain't cheating on my
That's
lady.
a lot of devil.
Ooh, go ahead, bro. Go ahead, man.
It's a lot of devil, man. You know, and I've heard men say that, but I think what people have to understand when it comes to porn is that the devil is playing for keeps. Like, he really is. There's so much spiritual implications, but it's also so much practical implications of watching something like literally anti-Christ. At the very core, porn is like anti-God, right? If our bodies is a house for the Holy Spirit,
Wow.
right? Like, right? The Bible calls us the temple of the Holy God, right? And God says in 1 Corinthians that the body was created for the Lord, and the Lord cares for our bodies, and he will raise us from the dead just as he rose Christ from the dead, right? And we understand how important Jesus being raised from the dead. We have to understand when we watch bodies being misused, that's supposed to like literally like house like God's spirit, his temple. We defile something sacred and holy, not just in our own bodies, in our own hearts, but when we watch other bodies being misused, right? And so I think it breaks the heart of God, but I think psychologically what it tells men is it tells men that women are nothing but bodies. And it tells women that men are nothing but bodies. It doesn't teach us about the holistic nature of a human being. And so we don't honor our spouses like we should, right? We're not satisfied with our spouses because we comparing our spouses with other people, you know what I'm saying? And then also it gives us this distorted view of intimacy, right? What real intimacy is. And so a lot of men go into their marriage unsatisfied because you watching this man not getting denied by woman after woman after woman after woman. And when your wife is who's a holistic person with feelings, emotions, she's complex, right? When she denies you, you feel rejected because you've consumed your mind with people not getting rejected. And that's not real intimacy. Wow. That's not real relationship, right? And I think that's the reason why the enemy wants us to consume porn, because he wants to disrupt the way we love our wives. He wants to disrupt how we look at the opposite sex. He wants our kids to be affected with our, because even our lack of intimacy we have with our spouse. You don't think our kids watching that? You don't think porn has put like divisions in marriage and intimacy and oneness, you know what I'm saying? And now it has like generational implications. Now your kid not watching you love and nurture your woman because you don't know how, because you watch you consume. And so the reason why I'm so passionate about this, because I fell in porn. I was addicted to porn in my marriage for like over a year, and my wife had to catch me watching porn. And it wasn't until she called me and I realized, man, how much it hurt her, but how much it hurt the Lord. Wow. And how the enemy literally was trying to he wasn't just trying to just make me watch perverted things. He was trying to affect the way I loved my wife. He was trying to affect the way I showed up with my children. He was trying to affect the way I showed up in the world. He was trying to affect the way I supposed to look at my sisters in Christ. He was trying to affect everything. And so I think that we just don't understand all the spiritual implications porn has. It's demonic, and we should run from it.
Now Preston going nuts right now. I can already tell. You came in heated.
Yeah.
But so I think it's a good time because we got to talk about the giveaway real quick, and then I want to ask you a follow up. So guys, fortunately, Preston has blessed us with 4 signed copies of his book, How to Tell the Truth. So guys, I'm gonna go ahead and drop it. It's already in the link. So you check out the description, you're gonna see the link, and I'm gonna drop it again. So go ahead and fill out that quick link. All we need is your name and email, right? Yeah. And you instantly qualify to win one of these 4 signed copies of Preston's book, How to Tell the Truth. And I want to close out this poll before I ask you this follow-up question. Guys, we dropped a poll. Have you signed up for the Pure 30 Challenge? And it's a reason I dropped this poll. We got 17% or 18% at absolutely. We got 7% at I'm about to now. Shout out to all those people. And shout out to the people who already joined us. We got 61% of people stating I am already abstinent.
That's crazy. That's
61%?
And we're going to challenge that. We're going to
challenge. Is it by choice or by?
Exactly. Because we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that. And then we got the rest of the people say, I'm not ready yet, which we also going to address. But I looked this up. I'm going to close that poll out. I looked this up, the definition of porn: television programs, magazines, books, etc., as in social media. That's what we're going to say etc. is today. That are regarded as emphasizing the sensuous or sensational aspects of a non-sexual subject and stimulating a compulsive interest in their audience. So the reason I stated that, because this could be workout videos on Instagram.
Yeah.
Porn. This could be the mukbang, eating lobster.
Oh yeah. Oh my God.
What?
Porn. Yeah, the food porn.
Mukbang. I ain't never heard of that.
Mukbang. Yeah, it's pretty much when
people watch other people eating large amounts of food. People they get millions of views sitting down watching.
Oh, that's a gluttony spirit.
Gluttonize for sure.
So it's all forms of porn. right? Wow. So I wanted to clarify that. And my follow-up question for you is, because I think because it's people right there watching porn right now, or not right now, but have watched porn today.
That'd be
weird.
Right?
Wow. No, they have watched porn sometime today, and they really don't think it's that big of a deal.
But you know how wild that be if they're doing it right now? Like, I don't know what he talking about right now.
Clay.
That's disgusting.
Oh my gosh! Did y'all just play?
Who did that? No.
Hey, y'all ignorant.
So Ryan doing sounds now too, so it's getting crazy.
Get ratchet.
You never know who got it.
No. So let me ask you, because I know you talked about a bit kind of what summed up when your wife caught you using porn.
Yeah.
But where did it start?
Yeah.
Like, where was the first seed of things going in the wrong direction?
Oh man, so that's a really good question. I think the church has to do a better job of teaching men that we are not entitled to our wives' body anytime we want it. I think men don't know how to handle rejection.
Absolutely not.
Right, because the culture doesn't teach us.
I didn't even like hearing you say that just now.
Right. No, like seriously, now, and we use these terms and not terms, these scriptures that your body's not your own. You know what I'm saying? Submit to your husband, but it's always when we want sex. Let's just be real. It's like we never say that when we need to die to our flesh. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so it's always when we want sex. But I think that the culture, the men that we're raised by, who might be womenizers or just pimps or whatever, players, and I grew up around, dudes who just had a lot of women. All my uncles had a lot of women, and then I started watching porn when I was 11 years old. Wow. So I grew up seeing men not rejected, and so I think even in Christ, I think subconsciously I go into this marriage not ready to hear no. Wow. And so what happens when I hear no in a marriage? Right, I want to run to a distorted version of intimacy, to fix my ego, right? To handle my lust issues. You know what I'm saying? And I also think that people need to stop thinking that marriage is going to cause a lust issue. Marriage is not a way to cause your lust issue. You know what I'm saying? You have to submit to the Lord before you get married. And so for me, I wasn't ready for rejection in my marriage. And I wasn't just honest with myself about the idolatry that I had in a woman's touch. I idolized it more than the Lord, in a lot of ways. And the Lord had to show me that it was an idol. You know what I'm saying? And also it was a deep, to be transparent, it was a deep need, right?
Now, I want to please keep your thought, because I want to ask this, because I think that's really important. How would I know as a young man that I have made a woman's touch or a woman an idol, period? How would I know that?
Yeah, that's a good question. When you shouldn't, when you cannot live without it, the only thing that we shouldn't be able to live without is the Lord. When my wife told me no, it would mess up my whole week. I couldn't even function. Mm-hmm. I became I had these pity parties and all that. When it became, I knew it became an idol when my identity was attached to it. And I think a lot of times men attach their identity to how much their wives or their women want them. And it's if our identity is wrapped in it, when we don't get it, we're going to run to perverted versions of it. And I think that's the reason why single men run the porn, because I think a lot of our identity and who we are is attached to how desirable we are by the opposite sex or the same sex, or whatever you struggle with. And I think that we make each other idols in that way, honestly.
Wow, man.
Game.
No, that's big game. And I know I cut off your previous thought that you were actually driving home.
What was I saying? I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
Oh, dang.
He was going in.
I want to know.
I knew it was at a risk.
Don't stop when he going like
I
that.
know.
It was too risky.
Well, I had to ask too, because I feel like right now, personally, me, I feel like right now, we talked about this in our last group with our brothers, becoming a husband, because all of us are actually single, one divorced, and we all are going through this process of becoming husbands. And we talked about it. I didn't even realize it. It truly is this purification process to becoming a husband. And it's this purification, truly of your soul, cleansing yourself of the lust, these addictions that you have, the cleansing your ego, you know what I'm saying, reducing your pride, like really doing all of these things that would allow a woman to really have space and longevity in your life, because our culture really has not prepared us to be husbands. Yeah. Our culture has truly prepared us to be players, truly prepared us to be pirates that really go inside women and straight plunder every single time we inside of a woman. So when I'm the way I'm even evaluating myself now, almost like a third party looking at myself, the more I understand, the more I'm like, damn, I got a long way to go. Long way to go. Every time I think I'm getting closer to it, I actually just gain more discernment to really see how far away I am from really having myself be cleansed. You actually said something prior when we was at an event. You said men, our culture really pressures men, because I do feel, especially with this platform, I feel pressure to be a husband. I really do. I feel pressure to be a husband. And you said our culture typically pressures men to be husbands when they don't really provide them the same tools and support in discipleship to develop these skills. Because I feel like really I'm late as hell on a lot of these different skills that I'm currently developing.
Yeah, that's good. Can I applaud y'all though for what y'all doing, especially with this challenge? Because I do think that when we start to raise holistic disciples in men, we will start seeing better husbands. And I think a lot of times, you know, we try to shape disciples when they get married. And it's just like, you have so many young men walking around the church who are not being poured into. And then when they get married, you think they're just supposed to be a good husband. But it's like, no, like you learn how to be a good husband before you're actually married. Like serving your community, dying to your flesh in your community. Like that's the role of older men in the church pouring into the younger men, right? And so now, you know, and that's not even for men, but women too. So now when you go into marriage, you have no framework for selflessness because you never modeled it in your local community, right? And so if you model it in your local community now, right? Now you have a framework of how to walk in gentleness. You have a framework of how to die to your flesh. This is supposed to be practiced in the church, right? And so this is the reason why men get married, you know, and get disappointed because they weren't prepared. And I think you doing things like this, like the 30-day challenge and all of that, like, was it 30 or 80? 30.
Well, hey, now don't be scaring folks now. Hold on now.
That's good. We took on 90.
Yeah, we took on 90
ourselves.
And
so October. Here's the thing.
Is it September 1st?
Yeah, we go
October 1st. October 1st we done.
So I hope this don't. What happened after the 30 days? People start smashing again?
We just talked about that. So check this out. But see, that's the beauty. I think that's the beauty of the challenge, because if you've never thought about it prior, if you never even planned on doing it, once you get into it, that's the question you ask yourself.
You got to crawl before you walk.
You gotta crawl before you walk.
I can't tell somebody that.
Because this thing, if you working out, is universal law. If you working out, we're not gonna send you out there to work out 7 days a week. We're gonna say, hey, get you 3 days, get consistent for a little bit, then add that 4th, that 5th, that 6th day.
I feel it.
And
just encourage them to be like, man, I got 7 more days, and I'm finna, you know.
Well, some people
get these cheeks.
Some people will do that, and that's the thing, guys. It's not just no sex, no porn, no masturbation. It's a lot more than that. So if you actually click the link, you're gonna see everything that encompasses. You reading 10 pages a day, you journaling daily, you doing a digital detox,
building up your mind
minutes.
and your spirit.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's good.
You have to couple those. You have to couple those. And I've been abstinent before, but it was out of frustration, you know, out of having some kind of relationship go sour. But when you do it intentionally and you add that spiritual component to it, it makes the experience completely different. And I find myself, don't get me wrong, I lust, right? But I find myself, we all do, but I find myself receiving these messages, these downloads, that's what we call them in our men's group, these downloads where it's forcing me or compelling me to take subsequent action to battle against, you know, the lust and the desire. So it's a complete 360 change in how I'm looking at things.
That's powerful.
But see, when sex, that's the thing. When you remove sex, you're able to have that soberness and thought for you now. At that point, when you have the option to dive back into it, I feel like even if you do, the experience might even be a little different for you. And I'm not encouraging anybody to go back into it or do anything.
Well, let me bring this point to it, because I think as men and women, we've grown, or we've been poured into differently when it comes to sex. So when you're talking about sex, you're talking about the conquering dynamic that you get from it. I don't think women have that same feel. Maybe some women do, but I don't think all women feel the same way.
Nice.
But it's also because we've been programmed into thinking that as men, our bodies aren't valuable in the same way. Like, we think that when we give ourselves cheaply, that we're not degrading ourselves.
That is so
We think that
true.
when we find ourselves with multiple women, that we've somehow defeated something when we don't realize we've been defeated. Like, do you even see yourself as precious? If you saw yourself as precious, just think about logically and rationally. Everything that's considered precious is protected. Well, you're not going to see even Joe Biden himself. He's going to be well protected. He's going to step out his car and he got Secret Services here, there, and he got a sniper on the roof. Why? Because America has agreed that this individual needs to be secure, right? You go to a jewelry shop. It's not going to, everything, especially the most expensive jewelry, is going to be encased, and you'll only get to see it at the permission of whoever's behind that counter. In the same way, how is it that you're saying you're king? How is it that you're saying that you're valuable? How is it that you're saying you have any worth when anybody can have you?
But let me tell you what I
Or
realized.
all she got to have is a pretty face or a big butt.
First of all, but that's a value change.
Yeah.
Because when you hear a lot of men talk, what they'll do is they'll say, all kings had thousands of concubines. Oh, see, I'm realizing men are not all using the same North Star and the same scale and grade. A lot of men think we have different definitions of purity. The way we think of purity for women is not what we think of purity for us.
Well, what is purity in your opinion?
So, first of all, I'm with you, brother. I'm with you. But let me tell you, I've been on both sides. Because when I'm thinking, I didn't even consider or even desire purity as a man. I desired, as a man, I desired affluence, right? I desired success, right? I desired me having access to anything I wanted in this world.
Because that's your assessment of value.
Including women.
Yes.
So I looked at women as the prize that I get for my hard work. Right? I looked at women. That's what I looked at. Women was the gold medal that I get.
Plural.
And honestly, not even at the end of the race. I get them along the race and at the end.
Wow.
That's
I
just
never
what we
looked
taught.
at myself as any level of my body count destroying me. That's the rule for women. Wow. That your body count is destroying you, baby, not me. That's not how my body works.
Yeah.
So we really don't, and that's the confusion.
One, I want to just say, man, you guys are doing such a, I'm gonna keep saying that y'all doing such a great work.
Absolutely.
And I think what you said about, you know, like what we can learn, what the people who doing the challenge can learn, you know, while they're doing the challenge, is because that's important. I think, one, you need to be intimate with the Lord, because what you just said is one, we were created, man and woman, we were created in the image of God, one. And so we have to understand what that means is we were created for him and by him alone, right? And so one, if we were created for him, we have to understand, if we were created in his image, he is a faithful God who does not cheat, right? Right? He's faithful to us. And so we have to understand if our bodies are the Lord's, we cannot use our bodies any way we want to.
Wow.
Right? That goes for men and women. And the culture tells you, oh, women, be a woman, don't give your body away. But it's like, no, know that the Lord's heart is broken when you give your body away to anybody. His heart is broken, right? When even Job said, like, a covenant, the word covenant means a binding agreement. Job 31, he says, I've made a covenant with my eyes not to look on a woman with lust. Because he didn't want to break the heart of the Lord, because he knew that his eyes were the gateway to his soul.
Come on.
Right? He didn't want to defile his soul, not because the culture said he's valuable, not because his mama said he's valuable. No, he was made in the imago Dei, in the image of God. We are image bearers. And because we're image bearers of the holy and righteous God, we don't have a right. Like our bodies are not our own. It is literally not our right to give our bodies away. It is offensive to a holy and a righteous God. Every time I watched porn, God was offended at me. Every time I slept with somebody outside of marriage, God was offended because my body is not mine.
Jeez.
It is his. It was not created by me. It was created by him. And I think that we have to look at our bodies in that way, and as well as women.
Correct.
We belong to someone who is transcended, to someone who is holy, to someone who is righteous. And when we defile our bodies, we disrespect and dishonor him. Period. Both men and
I'm
women.
gonna be honest. The problem is, though, here's the reality of the situation. And I told Jackie this, and it sounds really bad, but it's the truth.
Be honest.
I don't think that it's a really good solution at scale to tell the people you should not do this because you'll break the Lord's heart. Because the reality of it is, our culture don't care about breaking the Lord's heart.
They don't know the Lord.
So they don't even have a relationship enough with the Lord to care. Even that's not even a valid enough reason for me to stop having sex. This thing that I already have a better relationship with than I do God.
Yeah.
So, again, many people already have the experience that, look, God ain't been there. I don't know where he been at. This is where I'm at. I'm in the trenches. I'm self-made. I'm out here grinding. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. So that's not even a practical enough solution for most of our culture to say, I can't do this because I'm going to break the Lord's heart. So I feel like we almost need to really give the culture a more practical solution, like a step one solution, especially for people who not in that place to not move because they don't want to break the Lord's heart.
I can feel you. I can feel you on that. But this is what I'll say to that. One, I can feel you because I think I just had this conversation with somebody who challenged like some rappers publicly, like some secular rappers, and I said, I even said the person that I was talking to, I said it kind of defeats the purpose of giving, you know, people in the world who are rappers, you know, this moral a message when they haven't converted yet. But I'll say this, like I tell atheists when I talk to atheists on my YouTube channel or whatever. If there is no God, everything that they do is legitimate. If there is no standard of moral goodness, what is the motivation for anybody to not to dishonor their body? Not to dishonor somebody else's body? There has to be a standard of moral goodness for somebody to look to. Because if there is no God who has no standard, well, whose standard are we holding them to?
Right.
Are we holding them to our standard? Are we holding them to your standard? How is your standard graded to my standard? How is your standard graded in his standard? Right? And so if you tell somebody who don't think about the Lord in consideration to their body first, they can easily dispute what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because there has to be a moral standard of how we live our lives.
Yeah.
The God who created all things for himself has to be that standard. And I think what we have to do is we have to become creative, I think, when we're trying to give this message to the world of how can we creatively teach them about God while at the same time not beating them over the head with scripture.
Right.
I think that's the solution. But if you don't give them a moral standard, they really don't have to listen to you.
So, because I understand what you're saying, but I kind of fall on his side because it's almost to say, well, tell them something else that's going to motivate them to keep their bodies. And let's say, get on this Pure 30 challenge. I'm going to tell you this, man. As far as sin is concerned, he said, give them creative ways to give them God. I've mastered every creative way to navigate sin. And so, like,
facts.
Put me on a 30-day challenge. In sin, I on 31 day, I'll show you how I can sin 30 times. Well, so you can't tell us, you can't even put a sinner in a law box because we're going to break those laws. We have to get God. And if you're going to dismiss God and try to get to his holiness or get to purity, then you're going to fail. Why? What does purity mean? I think we got to get this. Sometimes we think of purity and we think of innocence, sweetness, angelic robes and garments. Purity, even by just scientific definition, is without adulteration or contamination. What does adulteration mean? Adulteration means it's the presence of another substance. I'm going to say that again. Adulteration is the presence of another substance. For instance, I have a bottle of clear water. If I put a clean button in here, I'm saying sterilized, in this water, this bottle of water becomes impure. Not necessarily because the button was dirty, but because the button is another substance. So if I'm trying to approach God with my understanding of purity and say, here's my gift of abstinence, God says it's dirty. Why? Because it's you. It's something other than me. It's something other than my righteousness. So now, what do I have to give? Well, God is saying, give me an empty place to let me fill it. Guess who wants empty places? The Lord and the enemy. How we know that? And scripture says, hey, when these demons leave, they find that place swept, they'll come back with 7 more demons to come and invade that space because they're drawn to empty spaces. What are empty spaces? That hunger, the desires, the lust, the brokenness, the abandonment. And so God is saying, give me abandonment. Give me a rejection that leads you to porn. Give me those things that make you want to feel like a man. I want that. But you know what the enemy is saying? I need that too, because I'm going to pair that with your vices. And I started to realize that I used to think I was one of the most lustful people on earth. I'm over here preaching. And after I finish preaching, I can't help but want to flip open my BlackBerry phone. It's not flip open. I just had to press the button because there's no flip. Right. And I wanted to watch porn. So much so I had to go on his podcast and confess it went off during service. But I found myself.
Wait, the porn went off in service?
Yeah, in service. Watch the podcast. Yeah. It's okay. But I thought I was
It's not okay.
It's okay now.
He said it's in the past.
It's okay now.
It's not.
It's okay now.
That's sin forgetfulness.
But I thought I was so far gone in my mind and lust that I just thought there was something wrong with me until I realized that I wasn't watching porn because I was lustful. I wasn't watching porn because I was horny. I got to a point I was watching and I would stop being aroused, but I would still follow through. You got to see it through, my boy. That's what my mindset was. And I realized, man, why am I? I feel rejected. I feel unaccomplished. I'm idle. And I realized the enemy always wanted to pair those emotional states with the lust. And so I realized that there's patterns here. Every time I feel like this, I want to do this. Every time I'm during this time of night and I feel like that, my mind goes here, this emotional state. That empty place garners and draws these things. And so we have to be willing to say, God, I can't afford to give this empty space to anything else.
Yeah.
I give this empty space to you. Fill me. So even on this 30 days, like do all of that, but call upon the name of the Lord. Drag yourself a partner that can speak life into you. Grab yourself the word that you can read and get it inside you, because you could try it in your own strength, which I have. And I failed miserably for years in addiction to lust and masturbation. And I didn't realize that I needed him to refresh me, to change my appetite. Because after years, I was discipled with a particular appetite. I was programmed with a particular appetite. So you're trying to disciple me. So you're trying to give me some words on top of my programming. You're trying to infuse Jesus into my pre-existing system. Somehow, some way, I'm going to choose the system. But if you don't destroy the system, if you don't uproot those empty places and give them to God in those particular places, if you don't add, Jesus could save my soul. But if Jesus can't deal with my horniness, my soul and my horniness are in 2 different categories. I begin to seeing my relationship with God as, okay, I read the word, I teach, I do this, and I'm going to love my wife. But my horniness, nobody could deal with this rejection, and that's paired with this horniness. So I'm going to use this empty place and I'm going to give it to this instead of allowing God to meet me right there.
Let me just say something too. Also too, like one of the things that I heard you say, bro, and I want to commend you on it, because what I hear, you might not even hear this, but what I hear is an evangelist.
Come on.
Like you're trying to wrestle through like how the outside world will receive something, or how they could potentially reject something that's good for them. And I think a lot of times what the church do is we give people truth in very gospel churchy ways, right? And but actually the truth can be way more simple
and digestible,
and also practical, right? And so, for example, right, I understand a person who loves giving the gospel to the outside world. I understand that wrestle of giving a moral message to somebody who hasn't been morally changed yet, right? But that's the reason why they need truth, right? But how do you practically give truth? And so, some of the conversations I had with my cousins, the dudes that I grew up with, is like, man, like. Our bodies were not made for multiple people. And let me show you how practical like that claim is.
Yeah.
You having baby mama issues right now.
Come on.
Because you operated outside God's will.
Come on.
You didn't had 1,500 STDs.
Scares.
Because you operating outside God's will, right? Your marriage, not your marriage, but your family is separated and dysfunctional because you like there's spiritual and there's practical implications of operating outside God's will. And I think that's the reason why we need to show people the downfall of not doing it God's way, but pointing back to a savior, pointing back to their standard. If they don't have a standard though, they can reject it, but show them how practically their failures and their failure to operate inside of God's will is failing them, and then point them to someone.
Now, let me, first of all, Preston,
Wait, hold tight,
you're
hold tight.
100%. Okay, go ahead.
Hold
Go
on, because
ahead.
we lighten up. Listen, this is an instant
I'm about to
classic.
go on.
I know. This is an instant classic. Let me tell you. Listen, ladies, if you're tuning in, this is an absolute must watch for any man that occupies the earth.
So
at this
share
point.
it right
so
now,
absolutely share
please.
it. But I thought this was a good time to give a shout out to Ezekiel because he actually has a powerful upcoming men's conference, Restored. So Ezekiel, real quick, give us a quick shout. What is Restored all about?
Man, Restored is going to be happening in DC. Restored is a men's retreat where we get men from all over the country to come. And it's different than most conferences where all the men of God come and they preach the lights out. It's not like that at all. We all come together. We get transparent. We get real. It's a time of, it's hard to really to say, but it's time for us to take our mask off. And we actually, with the titles, we drop everything at the door, and we bear it all, man, and we encounter God in really, really tremendous ways. Every Restored, there's a crazy amount of deliverance. People are set free. We get practical, like my brother was talking about, practical steps on what now? Now that I've met the Lord, now the Lord has done this with me, how do I move forward? So it's a time of connection, of course. It's a time of building. It's a time of real-time discipleship, connection, pouring out, accountability, transparency like never before. And I'm so proud of what God is doing. This is our 4th year, and this one is going to be in D.C. It's going to be with Jerry Flowers. He's come to this show before.
Yep.
Yeah, Will Jackson.
There's some real brothers on that flyer.
That's what I told you. I was like, the lineup is sick.
Oh
Yeah.
man, it's amazing. Pastor JJ Hairston, man, it's so many, and some of our brothers that you guys have seen me with we've done work with, Band of Brothers. Tremendous time. I cannot emphasize this more. If you're a woman and you're listening and there's a man in your life, go ahead and invite him to this. Send him the link. If there's a man that go ahead and sponsor them. Get a man there. It's going to be amazing.
Nice. Fact, you see my boy Will Jackson gonna be there. Yeah, he the only brother that he can kind of compete with my haircut. You know what I'm saying? I got that fresh line. We'll be having that fresh line. We can go head to head. You know what I mean?
They got that fresh Sharpie marker going crazy on their head.
You hate.
What I want y'all to do though, the link is in the description, so y'all can go ahead and make sure y'all go ahead and get access to that one. And back to this because this is important.
Facts.
Yes,
and
I
I dropped this poll. Have you ever struggled with porn? Because I want to get a temperature of the room
That's
to
a
see
good
who
one.
we talking to.
That's a good one.
52% of the people say yes, and we got a small percentage, but this is important, that are struggling right now. So we actually want to talk to the people who have struggled, and we definitely want to talk to that 5%.
No, that's really huge, and that's what we're talking about now. It's how to talk to them, especially men, because I've been there before.
Yeah.
And I know other brothers that as soon as you start talking that Holy Spirit and all of this, they just straight clock out.
Yeah.
Like they're not trying to hear that. That's not where they are at this point in their lives. I remember one time me trying to confide in a brother in my early 20s about something that was going on, and he told me I need the blood of Jesus. I'm like, bro, I don't want to hear that right now.
Right, where they selling
I don't need
that
no
at?
blood. Yeah, right. Yeah. So the reality of the situation is we do have to figure out how, where our culture is and how to meet them.
Yeah.
Because like you said, all a brother knows that he can visibly see is the pain that he's going through.
Yeah.
So he could see that baby mama getting on his nerves. He could see those STD tests that he failed. He can see these women that are now pregnant and these child support bills that are piling up on them. But those are all symptoms of the sin.
Yeah.
But he's still not even ready to really go deeply into the sin. But if we can talk more and reverse engineer from the symptom slowly and make it make sense for him, he could then understand that, because obviously the God, it's the unseen, it's the relationship that we have to have and to build. And like any other relationship, it has to be built. So coming to a brother that has absolutely no recollection on day one, we start really talking over folks' heads. So even the way Hardly Initiated is designed, and I don't even know if y'all understand how intentional we are with the sounds that we choose, the way that we talk. I really know that we have to meet our culture where they are and then bring them up.
Right.
Or else we gonna end up just being the self-righteous folks at the church that end up pushing everybody else away, which I'm not even trying to be, because I've experienced that personally.
Yeah.
I had to go on my walk myself and study myself to learn, because I didn't like how other folks was teaching me. So
How would you say the church was teaching you that was problematic?
well, first of all, I wasn't even in the church like that.
Gotcha.
Because the reality of the situation is I did not grow up in the church. We only went to church on Easter and hard times. So, and for as far as I was concerned as a kid, it was just, I was pissed off that I had to wake up early on Sunday.
Yeah.
Right. So that wasn't a normal part of how to deal with things in my life. And the people that I knew and saw that went to church, they were in my lives to see how they lived, and I didn't want to live like them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So nothing about it was sexy.
So let me give you a little bit of my testimony. So I didn't grow up in church. I got saved when I was 19. The only time my mama took me to church was Easter and Christmas. I grew up on the block. I grew up gangbanging. I lost my virginity at 12. I started selling weed at 12. I started breaking in cars in 13. I hated Christians, because I thought they was the most judgmental people on the earth. and so you preaching to the choir, I completely feel you. You know, I lost my virginity at 12, and it told me that my value was in a woman's touch, right? My value was in how many women I can get to lay on their back, right? That's what my uncles told me. That's what my culture taught me, right? But at the same time, you know, when I came to the Lord, right, God made it very obvious to me that the reason why I was running to these things is because I was created for worship. My worship was just misplaced.
Whoo! Where's y'all ding at, man?
Right.
My worship was just misplaced.
I'm paying attention right now.
Exactly.
Right? I don't know the guy you was talking to, right? But I know why he was created. And I know why he runs to the things that he runs to. It's because he was created for worship. He's just not worshiping the one he was created for. If he does not run to the one he was created for, if he stopped watching porn, guess what? He's gonna pick up another idol.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when he drops that idol, he's gonna pick up another idol, right? When we try to teach people a moral message apart from a holy and righteous God, we just make them morally good in one area and makes them idolaters in another area. What they need, what everybody need, is the God who created them. If we don't find true satisfaction in him, because we were created for worship, we're going to find something else to worship.
That's good, bro.
If you put down the sex, it's going to be money. If you put down the money, it's going to be accomplishments. If you put down this, it's going to be this, right? And you still going to have a problem with God.
Right.
God still has a problem with you worshiping things. Like, that's all idolatry is worshiping created things.
Come on.
Right? And so I'm not trying to preach I'm not trying to preach like a fire and brimstone message to the world, but I do want people to know that the reason why we have this deep neediness for these things is because we were created to be wanted. We were created to be loved, right? And this is the reason why we run to it, because we find a false sense of identity.
That's good,
we find a false sense of longing of it does something for us. It's like they're doing it for a reason.
Yeah.
When I was watching porn, I was watching porn for a reason. I found temporary comfort in something that was killing me.
Yes.
And what God wanted me to do is God wanted me to run to him who is the source of all comfort.
Right.
And so I think that's the message that we have to let people know who they were created for. You were created for worship.
And the craziest part, when you said, I found comfort in the very thing that was killing me, the craziest thing about people today is that for us, survival is enough. Like, all these years, my man talked about being 12 years old, and he lived all the way up until 19 thinking he was living. but all he was able to do was survive just trying to feel. I talked about the hot Cheetos. You know, the human body, I could live off Kool-Aid and hot Cheetos for 48 years. And God has given the human body, a special type of resilience, which I call grace, in which he gives each and every one of us. He says, I'll allow you to survive because every day I'm going to introduce you to a glimpse that will remind you that there's more to this life than surviving.
Right.
He said, I've come to give you life that you might have life more abundantly. So that thing that you're using to, I call it to placate, to substitute real life, the thing that you're going to make you feel better for the moment that's killing you, that hot Cheetos that I was eating that temporarily satisfied my feeling of hunger, I didn't realize was slow giving me ulcers. I didn't realize that later on it was destroying my mind. I didn't realize that it was changing my biochemistry. You see that? Like, we can literally give ourselves to that which kills us at the expense of surviving, when God is saying, is that all you want? All you want is survival when I created you to live? Like, imagine, like, we're just, all right, tell me what I need to, let's like, okay, give it to me so I can figure out a way to give it to the people so they can survive. God is like, how dare you? Like, do you know what I created you for? The story doesn't start off with you're just in sin. It starts off with him making us in his image. And he's saying, why do you keep settling for less? When I thought when I gave you this image, you would already know that you were beautiful and wonderful and created for more. I thought every time I gave you breath, it was a reminder that you didn't have to suffer in survival. That every time you would digest hot Cheetos and it wouldn't do what it was supposed to do for you, and you would get sick and you would feel ashamed after masturbating and watching pornography, something would click and say, it's enough. Enough is enough. I need more. When are we going to get, you know, that feeling that you get?
Right.
You know, I mean, we've all got to that point. I don't care how many women you smash. You sit there and look at yourself and say, man, a dog is a dog. Like, what is going on? Like, there's more. I'm more than this.
There's no fulfillment in it. And, you know, it's so crazy because men particularly, we know the laws, right? We know you don't kill, you don't eat, right? You don't hunt, you don't eat. We know you don't grind, you don't get paid, right? But we only think about that in terms of finances, in terms of the procurement of women. We don't think about that in terms of spiritual blessings. Like, I literally did not know that happiness was a spiritual fruit. I didn't know that. Because if I would have known that, instead of been trying to get all the money or all the hoes, I'm going to get God. You know what I'm saying?
Put you on a sermon
I'm going to get some
next
word. You know what I mean? See, guys, we really don't know that this same law which you covet, when you look at other guys and like, man, he not rolling with me. He not ready to grind. He not ready to work. So he can't get paid with me. You don't know that's the same way the spiritual team feels about you. You not reading scripture, investing in yourself, meditating, reading, you know, incorporating solitude into your daily practices. So of course you're not going to be happy, right? And the thing is, we tend to lean on all of those things which are quickly pulled away from us. So of course, like you said, if you leaning on a woman's touch and your wife's touch is pulled away, all of a sudden you lost. You hurt again. And it's not, you know, a matter of if you will get hurt, it's when. It's going to happen. There's guys out there that's getting money and money and money, and they 20 years in, rich as hell, commit suicide.
Come on, bro.
Because it will hit you if you don't put in that work. So the thing is, if we just start to recognize that these truths, and we get brothers like yourselves to break down the truths to us, you got to literally apply those things where you are most depleted. And most of us are most lacking in spirit. That's it.
But we don't. But see, that's the thing. We don't know that it's lacking in spirit, because like you said, we build all of these spiritual crutches around us, or these I say these worldly crutches around us for what we lack in spirit. And if you keep the training wheels on long enough, you don't even know you're riding with training wheels. So that's really what ends up happening.
You riding.
You
think you riding.
You ride smooth.
But
that's good.
But you really not though. So I want to actually go back to this, because you talked about worship, and I think it's certain words we use, and I don't think we really know how or what we really using at its depth. I really want to break that down, because it's a huge statement if you say we were designed for worship. Now, when you say we designed for worship, I don't know if I think a lot of us have the vision of us singing and dancing in church.
Right.
So I'm gonna be very honest with you. I'm not even very comfortable singing and dancing in church.
Me neither.
I'm not the person in church that's singing and that's dancing. Okay, I actually get real. I start even feeling weird when the pastors, when the pastors start really roasting, like, if they not dancing on your pew, then you. And I'm like, oh,
He's talking about me.
he about to talk about me. Because so for the people that might be confused about it, when you say worship, what exactly we talking about?
That's a good question, and thank you for giving me a reason, a way to explain that. I think when you said before we start recording, you was like, I haven't even seen you smile on your podcast. So if you haven't seen me smile on my podcast, I'm not the dancing and the running down the aisle type in church either. When I said we were created for worship, though, we were like, our lives were created for Him. Everything that I do is for the glory of God, right? I'm on this podcast to worship Him. This is worship, believe it or not. Anything that uplifts the name of God is worship, right? And so we ain't singing to these women that when we watching porn, what I mean? But it is worship, like, what I mean? Like we're giving our bodies, we're giving our time, we're giving our energy. And so I think that's what worship is, a holistic lifestyle dedicated to the Lord that created you. So, whether I do my podcast, whether I'm doing apologetics work, whether I'm loving my children, like I'm doing it all because of the one who created me. Like I'm not doing it because I love them more than I love the Lord. This is work. Like my service is worship unto the Lord. My loving my family is worship to the Lord. My loving my neighbor is worship to the Lord. My dedication to my body is worship to the Lord. All that's what worship is. And so anything that has your affection will have your worship. You know what I'm saying? And so this is the reason why, it's a form of worship when we get because women have our affection, men have our affection, right? Yeah. But we weren't created for them. They were created to be gifts of us in the way that God told us to have them, right? Wow. But we wasn't created for them. We were created for the Lord, right? And the Lord created us for His glory, right? And so I think that's what worship is: dedicating your mind, your body, your soul, your energy, your time to the one who created you, not necessarily singing and dancing. That's what I would say worship is. Good.
Okay, that's good news.
You worshiping, bro. You worshiping. You on point. You on point.
I got it now.
Because aren't you doing this for the glory of God?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and y'all doing great work. That's worship.
That's worship.
Yeah. And it feels good too.
Here's my worship. We ain't gotta do that. You know what I'm saying? This is worship. Yeah.
Man.
That's good. That is good news.
That's
right?
great news. That's great news because this feels right. And we talked about this probably ad nauseum at this point, but we was man, let me tell you, Preston, we was on the verge of going a whole another way.
Oh yeah.
And the thing about it is, with how me and Tyshawn work, if we would have went the other way,
would have went all the way.
All in.
I'm the interviewer now. What way y'all was about to go? What do you mean by that?
Well, with the
how I'm trying to think of the most simplest way to explain it. We was about to be
feeding the flesh.
Yeah.
Not fighting the flesh.
Exactly.
Really?
So absolutely. So here's what I mean by that. When you grow up in absolute poverty, it's so easy for money to easily become your idol.
Oh, absolutely.
Easily, right?
Yeah.
When you grow up around absolute men who create incentives and a culture around promiscuity, it's easy for women to become your idol.
Yeah.
Even when you grow up in rap culture, it's easy for all of those things to become your idol, because the first verses you learn is Biggie and Tupac.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reality of the situation that we in. So when you talking about me and Ryan, the reason me and Ryan even gravitate towards each other, we met each other at a prior company, is because we saw that we the kind of brothers that if we do something, we're going to go all in. It's burn the ship. It's doing it with excellence. It's no plan B. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be great. It's going to be the morally right thing. It's just whatever we do, we're going to do it great.
Mm-hmm.
And at where we were as men in the time in our lives when we were building this platform, like many other people building platforms, which is why podcasts have a bad rep right now.
Yeah.
They're building a platform based on where they are in their current manhood, reaching and teaching an influential sheep of millions.
Yeah.
And where we were on a spiritual level, keep in mind, at this point in time, me and Ryan had done some incredible things in business. Me and Ryan have had some incredible relationships in the space of very influential people. But me and Ryan, spiritually, especially knowing where we were now, we're still spiritually immature. Spiritually. And
Even seeking, it was light seeking.
it was seeking as it related to prosperity.
Exactly.
We were seeking as much as we needed to seek to get that check.
And to have game.
And to
get
and
riches.
really to get to again to feed our flesh. I also grew up, actually, crazy story. My grandpa actually coming to town. Grandpa, I'm about to see you this weekend. Grandpa probably gonna have a do-rag on, some gold chains, and a girlfriend. 16 kids.
Wow.
Probably I don't know. Grandpa, let me know how many kids you got. But this is the environment that I grew up in, and it was also what created the origin, the introduction to my moral value and my system of things. And we was scaling our flesh, or at the point where we could have scaled our flesh in the platform where we were.
So y'all saying y'all podcast could have went like a
absolutely
completely different way.
It could have been very different brothers sitting around this table.
Oh wow. Well,
Even the people that we were looking up to, they weren't guys with families. They weren't guys that were, invested into their spirit. They were guys that was getting the money, being reckless, provocative, going to partying. It was crazy.
Well, one, I just want to let y'all know this. Well, thank y'all for giving me that background, because I wasn't as educated. I've seen you guys' podcast, of course, but I wasn't as educated with y'all journey, and that gives me like a lot of context or whatever for y'all journey. And one, I don't want to come off, I could be a straight shooter, as you can tell, but I don't want to come off like I'm trying to just be like moralistic and like really hard, because I know the feeling of when I first got saved. I'm still like, people look at me and still don't think I'm saved.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Wow. And so just imagine me coming straight from the streets. I came from nothing, right? And I had Christians for years telling me, you don't look like this. You don't act like that. And so one, I just want to encourage you brothers, man, don't let anybody rush our journey, right? Because don't y'all probably know this, right? But this is an act of the Holy Spirit.
There you go.
Right? This is the Lord governing y'all steps and moving y'all in a direction to help change the culture, which I think is definitely needed. And so, man, like, one, don't let anybody rush y'all sanctification process or y'all journey, because it's a journey. When I talk to you 3 years from now, you're not gonna sound the same, because I believe God's hand is on this. From what I can see, that's what I believe, and I believe that God is using you guys to impact people with God. And so, like, man, like, I applaud y'all brothers, man. I'm really proud of y'all, like, for real, because this is great work. Like, think about how much toxic stuff we have out there with men. I don't want to name names on y'all podcast.
Call them out.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's hardly initiated, baby.
The fact that, no, seriously, I don't want to try to like big brother y'all, because I don't know how old y'all is.
Go
We
ahead.
probably the same age.
No, you good.
I'm serious. Like, think about how significant this is, right? Not only are y'all giving somebody a 30-day challenge, right? But you're not giving, you're telling them about the Lord.
Yeah.
That's big.
Yeah.
To so many people who probably never even I never heard about the God that I serve, and to people like came into my life that I respected, that looked like me, who was able to tell me, no, I was created for more. Y'all probably don't know on this side of heaven how much God is using this platform to like really impact people. That's right. For the sake of the gospel. So don't let nobody rush y'all process in y'all sanctification process, because when I first became a Christian, I had the temptation to let people rush my process, and now I'm just comfortable with how the Lord made me.
Honestly, me and Ryan, we do have those conversations, because it's really, it's tough having a platform, and because you really like, growing up in front of the world in many ways, and maturing spiritually, I would say more so than anything else, in front of the world. So you're subject to all these thousands of opinions,
right,
while also trying to lock in and do your own work in real time. And me and Ryan, man, I think it was a point where we were a little frazzled, just with all the noise.
Yeah.
But I know for sure, man, now I'm very proud of Ryan as well. We discipling up my little brother as well. We even seeing him change over the last
tremendously
year with him being with us.
It's good.
And the thing about it is, I feel like we have a level of peace that I can tell that we didn't have even last year, because we really know that we're getting better. Like, we know it's visibly evident even at this point. We feel it, but it's even visibly evident that we're growing in these different areas. And that's really all you can do is completely just control what you can control every single day and put in the work.
Absolutely.
It's
It's
one
just
day at a
put in
time.
the work every single day.
Every single day, one day at a time. We understand that we're gonna vary by degrees. All man is we all the same. We all have these various desires, all on the spectrum. But at the end of the day, you're gonna get better, little by little by little. And I was literally telling Tyshawn this because we get hit with all kinds of criticism, and even with guests that come on the show or people that watch the show. You know, people come on who feel like they superior Christians. They like, y'all ain't Christian enough. Y'all baby Christians. Y'all Luke Christians. Other people come on. They like, oh, y'all too Christian. You know, go back to the old y'all, you know. And we realize, we like, look, if this is not for you, it's not for you. Because at the end of the day, if it's truth, we don't got to worry about what nobody thinks.
That's good.
We're going to put it out there. And we know we helping people. We get hit with emails and DMs and calls and texts every single day.
Every day.
A mass amount. And we read every single one of them, by the way. We don't respond to every single one of them because that is literally impossible. But we know we are moving the needle and helping people. And when we also have that confirmation from guys who are much more mature and wise along their walk,
Spiritual OGs.
The spiritual OGs, it really just seconds what we already know. And the thing is, man, we so confident now and so excited because we know we actually are putting in the work in the right direction. Because when we was teetering on the fence, that's what had us thinking all of these negative thoughts and having doubt. But once you dig in, it's like, look, what come with it, come with it.
I'm glad I learned that information because I think I can try to dedicate prayer for you guys, because you know, not to sound like the typical Christian, but the enemy don't like the way y'all going. He don't like the direction y'all going into. He don't like that, right? Y'all are influencing people for the better. You know, the devil don't like that. You know what I'm saying? And so you're gonna have, and then the unfortunately, the most opinionated people are Christians.
Extremely.
Like when we look in the scriptures, the people who had the most things to say about Jesus were the quote unquote people of God, right? And so you're gonna get that, man. Don't try to be perfect. And it seemed like y'all comfortable with being yourself. You just have to let the world show that you're dependent on the perfect God. As long as you're dependent on the perfect God, y'all will be good. So y'all doing great work.
You know, I appreciate that, and I think this is an important message for the brothers out here. If y'all watching this, first of all, y'all literally seeing what healthy discipleship looks like in real time, because it's always, and we crave that as young men too. Like, there's no feeling as a young man like when a man that you have absolute reverence for affirms you where you are. Even as a kid, you feel that warmth as a young man. And it's just very important that we're just able to continuously receive that. And that's the discipleship that you and Jackie preach very regularly. We're able to receive that in the right direction. Because like I said prior, we always listening to verses and being discipled, whether you know it or not.
Right. Whether it's a future verse or God's verse.
That's really what it is. So the thing about it is, I'm happy that you guys are displaying this in real time, because not only is it affirming to us, but it's an example to others. And also good law that we just went through with the brothers, really taking it day by day, because this is also important for the brothers too, because I really want to get into this duty aspect.
Wait, before we do
as
that,
it relates to the
we got to
men.
give a shout out to the episode sponsor.
Let's do it.
We've been rolling good. And guys, we got so much stuff popping off. Don't forget, we are giving away 4 signed copies of Preston's book, How to Tell the Truth. You definitely want to cop that. And this is
Another one.
I always tell y'all this. Go buy it. Then put your stuff in for the giveaway, and if you win, we'll make you whole. Don't even worry about that. I don't want y'all saying I'm gonna wait to make sure I win before I go get it. Get it first, then do the giveaway, and we'll make you whole. And also, you want to check out Ezekiel, Will, Jerry Flowers, and all the other brothers he's gonna have at his conference coming up. That link is also in the bio. Restore Men's Conference, okay? And then the very last but not least, what was I saying?
You got the challenge, right? Was that
No. The episode sponsor.
Episode sponsor.
Big fact. Shout out to the episode sponsor. Make sure you pull that overlay up, Delano, so we can take care of our sponsors. Shout out to BetterHelp is sponsoring this episode. And guys, this is important. how many of us look at social media? I know I've been talking about this and literally wish we were someone else, like somebody else. We do that all the time. Comparison is the thief of joy, and it's easy to envy the way other people are living, okay? Now, it might look like they have it all together on IG, but the reality is they probably don't. They probably just like me and you.
That's a fact, man. Therapy really helps you focus on what you want instead of what others have, so you can start living the life that's meant for you, all right? It's not just for those who've experienced trauma. It's also teaches you how to handle problems and set your boundaries in life, guys.
Big fact. So, guys, if you're thinking about starting therapy, just go ahead and check out BetterHelp. Super convenient. Everything is online. And this is the thing. They got a team of licensed therapists that they fit to your needs.
All right, so look, stop comparison. Lock in. Let's focus, family, all right? Visit BetterHelp.com/initiate today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/initiate.
I love that.
There you have it, family.
Can't get help with us, get help somewhere.
Get some better help.
Get some better help. Exactly.
So
go ahead, get it off.
Yeah, I want to ask this here as well too, because another thing that I see here, I feel that our men are struggling with is really the duty and responsibility of being a man. It's a big responsibility with being a man. I remember a while ago I read The Purpose and Power of Men by Dr. Miles Monroe. I found it to be one of the best breakdowns pound for pound on he went in such detail in manhood, and he put so much responsibility on us as men in there. You know, he really called us the foundation of society. We're really responsible for cultivating our families, our women, serving the community around us, and ultimately whatever happens in our communities, we're responsible for it. That's why it's a really dangerous conversation, and where I have the biggest problem, the most toxic issue with the community we see online, especially the red pill community. They tend to pretty much put all the problems on women that we currently having. But the problem is when you put all problems on women, you actually make yourself solutionless. Now you lost all control of being able to change anything. If it's up to a woman to make a change, brother, that means you are helpless. So we can't be in this victimhood place as men.
Good. That's real.
That's
good.
already feminine as it is. If you just want to be a victim in society. So when I'm considering this, I really want to talk about why as men I see us doing things all across the landscape that I would consider neglecting duty. I would say a version of that is us committing the vow to being single for the rest of our lives. I think that's a version of neglecting the duty and the responsibility of a woman. I hear a lot of men now starting to say they don't want any kids. They don't want the family. They don't want the responsibility.
I'm starting to hear that a lot too,
Right.
and it's confusing me. I don't really know why.
Or men that say, because I have a family, because I have kids, I can't quite aspire to where I want to be or where I saw myself prior to having kids.
Making the family an excuse. All of these different things I see is an abandonment of our duty and responsibility, the God-given duty and responsibility, the divine duty and responsibility that we have here on earth. And you look at all this damn chaos going on right now. If anybody's to blame, I have to put it on us. What would y'all say to this? I hate to call it a new mindset in men, but where we are right now, what do you say to that?
You go first.
Man,
Loaded question.
I hate to be the Bible man, but it sounds, when you start to say, man, the red pill community and what they're echoing, and to point the finger at the woman, isn't that what happened in Genesis? Immediately after sin, man's perspective of God was shifted and distorted, and simultaneously his perspective of himself was distorted, and the next subsequent thing he did was he pointed the finger at the woman. So if a man is by nature becoming a victim and pointing his finger at the woman as if she's the problem of all things of society, then that tells me that he's living in the sunken place that shows that he has a distorted picture of himself and a distorted picture of God, and that is all sin and doubt of who God is. So first and foremost, it's not impractical for us to get back to what God says about us. It's not impractical, because God, before all of that, said, Adam, Like, I made you in my image, but also I've given you dominion. You're blessed. I've called you to steward over all this. God saw value in Adam. So the moment you start being the victim is the moment you start relinquishing yourself of all the greatness that God first sees in you. And I know it's like, well, okay, God sees that. But if you don't allow your life to say amen to what God has already said about you, by default, you're going to run yourself into ruin. You're going to use the people that God has called to support you to turn them into enemies that you're going to use either as crutches to try to fix you, or you're going to use as tools to damage everything around you. And so my call or my challenge to men is, first, check yourself.
Facts.
Like, this self-accountability that we say women struggle with accountability. All women don't have no accountability. But what about you? How are you seeing yourself wrongly? Even with this idea about just marriage and society, what role do you play in making society better? What role do you play, even as a single man? How have you walked around to build up the sisters around you so that the sisters around you know, hey, this is what a man looks like? How do the young men in your community look? Are there ways that you are living that are reminding them of what a man of God should look like? These moments that we just had with Preston is an opportunity for us to see what God can do in a man's life, but it's also showing us what manhood looks like. Humility, gentleness, being able to challenge and stand on truth. If we're not able to do that, then we need a deeper dive and a self-assessment to say, well, God, if I'm lacking in this area, how am I seeing you wrongly? And in turn, how has that made me look at myself wrongly? And in turn, how has that caused me to be ineffective in my community?
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with everything that y'all said. I think what you said, brother, was just so deep, because I do think at the very core, I think there's a huge attack on men in our culture. It's an attack for us not to accept responsibilities as leaders, not to embrace that role, right? Even when I'll take it back to Genesis as well. Notice how when God created Adam in the garden, right? He created Adam in the garden, and he gave Adam the right to name all of the animals. He told him to tend over the garden, which means to work, right? And he told him not to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, right? And he gave Adam all of those commands before he created Eve. And when he created Eve, God did not repeat these commands to Eve. Why? Because he entrusted Adam to uphold the moral integrity of his family. He looked to Adam to be the leader, not the domineering leader, not the leader that says you have to listen to me every time I say something. No, he created Adam to lead her well, right? And I think a lot of this toxic masculinity stuff that we see in our culture is giving men an excuse to not lead, giving men an excuse to point the finger at women, giving men an excuse to like be like Adam, right? And I think that's what the enemy wants. And now if the enemy can disrupt our leadership, which he's tried to do from the beginning, he's still trying to do now, right? He can disrupt the family. He can affect how we look at our sisters, and he can affect how our sisters look at us. He wants division. And so this is the reason why you have so many. I saw one woman on the internet talking about destroying the nuclear. Was it this show?
That was this show.
That was this show?
Yes.
That's crazy.
Okay, that's classic. Prince Ella versus Tim Ross.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
But that's
Man,
that's crazy.
Preston would have been amazing on that show.
yeah.
Like, part two.
You want to get that set up?
Part
that
two.
would be
We'll set that
fire.
up. We'll set that up.
Part two.
Prince Ella, you have been summoned.
Nasty.
But no, seriously. Tim texts me. I text Tim after that episode. I was on my anniversary with my wife, and I was on by the pool or whatever at night. My wife was sleeping. I said, Tim, I just watched this episode with you and this young lady, and I applauded him for like handling her with such care and love, because I feel like that's what she needed, right? And in a lot of ways, Tim led her well. And I think a lot of men are escaping the way we supposed to lead with love, with Christ-like love,
That's good.
gentleness, meekness, right? And so we cannot. And you know what frustrates me? I see so many men in our culture calling women out instead of modeling what they want to see.
Facts.
Damn.
Explain, bro.
It's like if you don't model humility, you cannot call a woman out on pride.
Damn.
If you don't model meekness, you can't call her out on a lack of meekness. Right? If you don't model a selflessness, why are you calling women out on being selfish? Right? If you don't model being humble with your finances, why are you calling women gold diggers? It's like we want to call out, but we don't want to model, and that's the opposite of how Christ led. Christ did not come and lead us that way. He didn't come and say stop doing this and stop doing that. No, God condescended and became a man to lead his creation and how he wanted them to live. And if men are going to be like Christ, we have to understand that we cannot be like Christ if we don't lead in the same way.
Right.
We want to lead by attacking women and not modeling what we want to see, and that's just not Christ-like.
And that's just really the opposite of how women even learn in the first place.
How we all learn.
How anybody learns.
Yeah.
And it's truly, I just really love the way you really broke that down, man. Because it is an attack on our leadership. And us being able to point the finger is the easiest way to measure that we just have an absolute weak culture. That's the easiest way to be a man.
Mm-hmm.
Is to just point the finger at somebody else and completely relinquish all responsibility, relieve yourself of all accountability from the situation, and just say, look, you are the problem.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And listen, guys, if you watching this, listen, it might hurt. It might be painful. And if so, then you need to go ahead and suck it up because you needed this. We talking to you.
Yeah.
Because, iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
Listen, ain't nothing but chisels and pens out today. Matter of fact, we need to get a chisel. That's what we need to put behind you.
Yeah.
A chisel, a gold chisel, and a big ass pen.
Yeah, no.
Because that's what it's all about. And the thing is, it was something that you mentioned, Ty, which sound guys not understanding, everything that's happening in your life. If you was to sit back and think about what was the inception of it, it all goes back to what's inside you. Every single thing, wherever you are currently, circumstances, whoever is in your life, whatever you got going on, the initial where everything started is all within. And I think it's very easy, just like a fan watches LeBron James or Steph Curry, it's very easy to say, hey, you should have been practicing that shot. Hey, you should have took the last shot. Hey, you should have passed that ball. We all have that in us because what it really is saying is that we know we're talking to the person inside us.
Yeah.
And
we're speaking to ourselves.
I'll also say what gets frustrating for men, and I'll kind of be an advocate in a little bit, is to say that a lot of women, they don't seem to want to take any accountability. And it seems like when a man wants to take a little bit of accountability, the woman's like, yeah, he needs to take accountability. And it seems like, man, we're wearing all of this weight. We're taking all of this burden. You need to take accountability first before I take accountability. So it's this tug of war that's saying, hey, you do your part, then I'll do my part. And now we're competing. But I think if we can recognize the way that God designed us, God designed women as receptive beings.
Yes.
And biologically, the egg is a receptive organism that receives the seed. The man gives the seed. Even biologically, anatomically, the man has to give himself to the woman. The woman receives the man inside of her. And women are responsive by nature. It's almost like parents. If we all have black parents that they whoop us with the belt and they'll get mad that we scream and cry. Don't be, shut your mouth. I'm like, it hurts. I'm screaming because you hit me. And so we as men are literally whipping and being mad at the scream. Right. We are men that are causing and being mad at the response or the effect of the cause. If we could take our time to say, hey, this is how we've contributed, and this could potentially be a response. Like, okay, these women are doing this. These women are not moving like this. Like my brother said so eloquently, I love that. She's moving in so much pride. But I'm expecting her to move in all this humility when all I want to do is lead in arrogance. All I'm doing is I want her to be subservient, and I want her to be under my control, and I need her to move like this, and I'm not leading and pouring that in for her to give that back. Miles Monroe says that stuff a lot. Like, man, she gives back or gives you back in multiples what you pour in. And so at the end of the day, Men, if we realize the way women are designed by nature over time, if we give them the right things,
Right.
we pour in the right things, then eventually they begin to give back what we pour
But
in.
see, I think I want to add this in here too, because I think we have a distorted view of what fair is in manhood. Because I don't think,
Break that down.
because the reality of it is, it's really not fair when it comes to responsibility and accountability. Actually, my mom actually taught me a very important lesson of accountability in manhood that I didn't even know I was learning. Shout out to anybody who was the oldest in their household. You might have learned this lesson too.
Yes, that's it.
My mom only spoke to the oldest.
Wow.
She only gave the rules to the oldest.
That's a good one.
She'll walk straight up to me and she'll tell me exactly what needs to happen. Make sure nobody don't leave this house. Make sure that person cleans the room. Make sure this happened. Make sure that happened. And make sure this and that happened. My mom comes home. They haven't done what they're supposed to do. I get my ass whooped. And I'm pissed. I thought that was just so unfair. I told him to do it. They didn't want to do this. She did. I told you to make sure that this was supposed to happen. And as a kid, I didn't realize that that's a leadership principle.
Yeah, it is.
Because I was the one that was entrusted with the role, the responsibility, and the instruction from my leader to be able to make sure everything was carried out. And if I was a better leader, then what would have happened was it would have been order and everything would have gotten done. But because I was half-assing leadership, the jobs were not carried through. And I perceived that as it being unfair, that I was the only person that received punishment.
Yeah, no,
and see,
that's
men,
good.
men,
that's good, bro.
We want it to be fair.
Yeah.
We want to be the leaders. We want all the submission. We want all to be entrusted with all of the power that comes and responsibility that comes with a man, but not also the unfair accountability that comes with the manhood.
Because it's very powerful. Because what you just said is literally what happened in the garden.
Yes, sir.
God told Adam all the instructions. Eve came along and ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And when God approached him in the garden, who did he walk up to? Adam. He approached Adam and said, what have you done? Yeah. And the first thing he said, the woman you gave me, right? right.
There's something wrong with this woman.
There's something wrong, but he approached Adam because he gave the command to him. Yeah. Right. And he entrusted him with that leadership. You know what I'm saying? And I think what God wants us to do is to be like Christ. Dang. Right? It tells what husbands, it's not just related to husbands, just male leadership. But this is in context of husbands. Husbands, love your wives like Christ loved the church. Christ loved the church before the church loved him back. And the Christ loved the church when the church rejected him. And Christ loved the church when the church doesn't have anything to give. Right? And so literally that is the role of leadership. Come on. Like Jesus came and modeled the perfect leader for us, right? And he died first. And so that's what leadership is. It is dying first. It is dying to your wills. It is dying to your pride. It is dying to your wants in order for somebody else to flourish. Now, what I want to say, too, I don't want men to hear me and say, man, you just leaving these women without an excuse. Because I don't think that women should be left without an excuse.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I honestly don't think that, right? Yeah. Because I do think that there are good women who will, like, if we were created for leadership, men, we have to understand that women were created to follow us.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And so if you lead a good woman well, even if she's giving you problems, right? Like if you lead her well, I think that a good woman would follow you if she feels loved, supported, nurtured like Christ, like Christ does us. Mm-hmm. Now you have difficult women. Mm-hmm. And I think that comes with the discipleship that you was talking about earlier. I think that we need women in the church, older women in the church, to check a lot of these women, because there are some problematic, toxic women out there. Yes, right. I just don't think it's our role to be calling. I think we just play a different role in women's lives. I think that God created us to model, and I think God created older women to call out and rebuke. And I think that if women don't see that they just like we need. Like older men, these women need older women to be like, you tripping. Yeah. That's your husband. Yeah. You need to respect your husband. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
That goes back to discipleship.
Need us to
back
help.
to discipleship.
And let's not forget that, yes, men got more requirements. I love the illustration that you gave. That was really preacher of you.
That was powerful.
Really fire. I just say that.
Really
you gonna write a book?
That was too good.
Not yet.
Oh, you gotta write a book, bro.
Not yet.
You know, I've been
Y'all
thinking.
some wise brothers.
I've been thinking about that, and it's gonna start with that daily journaling.
Oh, that'd be
That
dope.
book gonna start
pair
there.
it with
That'd be
that.
dope.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd
I'm
be
saying
dope.
with the requirement that comes on men, the responsibility that comes on men. I always say that God does not give a gift without the expectation of stewardship or responsibility. So know if God is giving responsibility, it has been paired with a gift. This leadership that you're so afraid of, that is a honorable title that God has given you as a man. Wear that well, but everything that God that gives that is honorable comes with requirement. Like if I gave you $1 million, everybody like, oh man, he got $1 million. But a wise man knows, do you know the responsibility that comes with maintaining and investing this properly to you look at a millionaire and all you could see is the wealth. But he's thinking about all the problems that come along with it. You know how much bills I'm paying? You know how I got to navigate? You know all the people I have to put in place and employ? All you could see is the leadership. All you could see is the title. Oh, he think he's so tough because he's a big man. No, I'm responsible for all this. Like if everything come crashing down, they ain't looking at you, they're looking at me. So recognize that it's a twofold thing, right? It's a gift that comes with requirement. It's a gift that comes with responsibility. So wear the honor well and remember that don't just wear the honor without the responsibility that comes along with that.
Man, honestly, one of my favorite quotes, my man Jim Rohn, he said, look, if you get $1 million, he said, you better become a millionaire fast.
Right.
And that's the thing about it too. Like you get a wife, boy, you better become a husband fast.
You have to.
Like, you get some kids, you better become a father fast. Like I don't even think we understand that these things that we take on are really responsibility.
Disciplines.
I don't even know if we realize that a woman is our responsibility.
That's good.
That's why it's even confusing when you just start even throwing around the word partner.
Because men are being confused by that.
Yeah.
Because it's
I don't
it's
like it.
really
It makes me
it's really
uncomfortable.
roles.
Likewise.
It's roles in this joint.
Likewise.
Because partner just sounds like it's too even.
I like
Right.
that.
Because no,
It sounds like it's
confusion.
unclear. That's what it
It's,
sounds
it's
like.
very unclear.
That's it.
Because the reality of it is, if she's my responsibility, I have to make sure I understand what I'm responsible for.
That's good.
Because you need skills to be able to manage those responsibilities.
Job description.
And bro,
Right.
most of us,
And you need boundaries because these guys, they think, oh, she's my responsibility means I have to be a people pleaser. That means I have to be responsible for her happiness versus
Let's
I
go
have
there.
to, right.
Go there.
And it's a lot of guys that this thing, and these ladies, man, these ladies want some strong men. And you know, I talk to copious amounts of ladies because they love to show me, Ryan, get your brothers right. Let me show you what they texting out here.
Okay.
The corny good morning text every morning, right? Because they think that's what a woman likes.
Oh, wow.
They think that's what a woman requires.
They think that's pursuit.
They think that's pursuit.
Oh, dang.
Right. So it's extreme confusion. And I think even when because the ladies want respect and they want to be cared for.
Yeah.
And I don't even think that they know when they go out repeat this terminology like partners that they even are adding to the confusion of men.
Yeah.
Why do you think people are using that so prevalently now?
Because it's, go ahead, Ryan.
Well, it's just a hot term to be symbolic of respect and genuine care.
And
You're trying to say because
I'ma
we're
add to
equals?
this.
Like, is that?
It's a politically correct
Correct.
way to not offend our very already offended culture of women.
Yeah.
Who have already seen the husband thing done wrong.
Got you.
They've already had all these bad experiences with their daddies and all the men that they've seen on TV and in their families.
Got you.
But they have genuine experiences
Okay.
of abuse. So a lot of times partner just feels a lot safer than husband.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
Wow.
husband sounds like too much
It's
submission.
jail, it's control, it's domination.
It's you having the right to beat me, put your hands on me.
It's a trauma response.
Get sex from me when I don't want to have sex. I'm your partner. I'm your partner.
Okay, because you respect the business partner, so you respect me.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, I
So
understand.
it's a safe word.
Yeah.
But it's the
But
reality.
isn't that sad though?
That is
that we
sad.
even have to do that.
Yes.
That's really
very
deep.
sad.
I've never thought about that, but that's sad that we have to do that. And I think because, you know, like leadership in our husband role has been so distorted, and I think that people think leadership, when they hear leadership, they automatically think dominance. Right? And it's just like, no, like dominance derives from the word dominion, and both man and women have dominion over the earth. Right? And so like when God created Eve, like like Adam saw her, and the first human words recorded in the Bible was a poem. This at last is bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman because she was taken out of a man. So he didn't see somebody that he can dominate. He saw somebody that he can love, right? And so when we think about leadership, we don't think about leadership in that way. And so, because so many men have abused their power, and a lot of this feminist movement, a lot of it is toxic. You know what I'm saying? And so yeah, I think that the culture just has distorted very beautiful things that the Lord created, which is sad.
The ladies are creating creative ways to rid their relationships of entitlement, and it's coming from the man. And I think that partnership is a good way to do that. And well, it's not a good way to do that. It's the way that they think is a good way to do that.
Wow, y'all just taught me something. I never knew why people was saying partner now. I'm like, what's this partner thing? That's actually very deep.
Well, because you got to think about the things that the women are communicating. Hey, I go to work, he go to work, but he go come back home for leisure. I got to take care of the kids and clean, because the husband is expectant of his wife to do that. Has nothing to do with what he's earned, has nothing to do with what's communicated. This is what you do. This is what wives do. And it's so many other aspects of a relationship that men carry this entitlement. And men carry this entitlement. It's so crazy. Carried it in every single aspect.
Wow.
You know, and it's ridding ourselves of the expectation and doing things without the expectation of favor, even though we know it's going to be there. Without the it's
so women are coming into these relationships protecting themselves by titles or non-use of titles. Men are coming into relationships using prenups and all these different things. Oh, we don't have a name that we don't. Let's not call this relationship anything. Everybody wants to protect themselves.
Yes.
Now, because we're enemies, instead of going into this thing to fight and forge forward, now I have to protect myself from you.
Wow.
And that's getting worse. It's really the gender war is truly making it worse, because we walking into these relationships with wounds and with fear of one another's intentions. So everybody got aces behind their back and under their legs.
That's crazy.
Because we really already don't trust each other based upon what we're looking at and putting in our minds every single day and what we grew up watching. Because the reality of it is, when we look at the men, we got to keep it very real.
Yeah.
A lot of the men in these previous generations completely dropped the ball.
Yeah.
Like absolutely completely dropped the ball. They dropped the ball with their families.
Yeah.
They misled the families. They probably were not very active fathers.
Yeah.
Providership was really all that was expected for the most part.
Yeah.
And really, when it comes down to the right to have multiple women, that was just an ingrained value that we had in our culture.
And if you drop the ball in your family, that it just decreases the probability that you're gonna have a healthy girl if she's growing up in a household.
Generational ripple effects.
And this is the thing, because I think about my sister. We literally grew up in the same household. Tyshawn and his sister grew up in the same household. Tyshawn, I know both him and his sister, they're completely different. So mine and my sister. We have different values. We consider things differently. And it's because there was no father in the household. But this is the thing. With me, I could go over my best friend's house and be over his house 24/7 and be learning from his dad. My sister can't go over no grown nigga's house with their family and be over there all the time. She's a young woman. So when that one opportunity, most women have one opportunity to have a man in their life that's going to do for them and care for them without expectation. She's lucky if she gets another opportunity from another man that's going to do for them without the expectation of sex or payback.
That's
But
true.
let me say this, though.
That's true. Let me add to this before you go, because I want you to speak on this, because actually Ryan brought this up. This was a great point. So what that means is discipleship looks differently for women than it does for men.
Right.
Because see, unfortunately, women have to be on guard when it comes to men. Because if a man is offering discipleship, what else does that come with?
Could come with, right.
What else could that come with?
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, many women have not met men that want nothing from them.
Yeah.
When they're giving something to them.
That's actually very true.
So unfortunately,
Yeah.
women almost have an uneven hand as it goes to discipleship.
Yeah, that's actually very true. One I want to just say, I love the fact that you brought up just our upbringing. And I really think that, this is the reason why in the past I've been such a huge advocate of therapy, because we have to understand that how we saw the opposite sex modeled to us growing up has played a part and how we view, like a lot of men, they're attracted to women while at the same time not liking women.
Oh, we're going to go there.
Let's just be honest. You're attracted to women. You love their bodies, but you don't like them because of what you saw modeled, right? And
They the ops.
It's right.
Yeah.
They're the ops,
Yeah.
right?
The prey.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And so this is the reason why we use one another for what we want, but we don't really entrust our hearts with the opposite sex,
good.
right? And so this is the reason why I told one dude, who I think I said this on my podcast, but I told one dude, he kept saying that his wife was wounding him, and I said, no, bro, it's a difference between your wife wounding you and her triggering old wounds in you that you never healed.
Damn.
It's a difference.
Yes, it is a big difference.
It's like your father, right? As a woman, your father or your uncles or the men, they taught you about manhood.
Yeah.
And so subconsciously, like it was a book called The Body Keeps a Score. Your body remembers the trauma of seeing that manhood model to you in a toxic way. And so now you're going into all of these relationships, all of these, courtships or whatever, like trying to guard yourself instead of being free like God wants you to be. And I think with the red pill community and all of this toxic stuff, it's just adding on to people's fears and adding on to people's traumas. And the enemy wants the opposites, want us to hate our sisters. They want our sisters to hate our brothers. And so I told people this on tour. When I was on tour, I said, man, I talked to a lot of Hebrew Israelites. And one of their, the Hebrew Israelites is a religion who thinks that, the black man is the so-called nation of Israel or whatever. But one of their main arguments that the Christian faith is not the real faith is because of how the men and women treat each other in Christian faith. They were like, we respect each other over here. Look how y'all disrespect one another. And the Bible says that the world would know us about the love that we have for one another, and it's a gospel issue. The enemy literally wants us at odds with one another.
Yes.
Because it does not point to the God who saved us. And so I do think that we need to do some deep rooted like therapy and say, man, what time in my life did I stop trusting men? What time in my life did I feel like women became the enemy, that women couldn't be trusted? Because what I'm seeing develop in our culture is a deep hatred for women.
Both ways. It's just
and also for women.
Yes.
Yes,
Men.
it's plenty of misogynists and it's plenty of misanders out there.
Absolutely.
And it's fact that some men will hurt you. It's fact that some women will steal from you. It's fact that people will do the wrong thing. But what's truth is that if you do no harm, there is no reason for you to fear harm.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
So people get so mixed up with the facts of things and not understanding the actual truth of things.
That's good.
So it's very important that, guys, we understand that the opposite sex is not your enemy. And if you feel that way, if you feel some kind of way about this conversation and you like, man, them boys changed, man. Man, them boys, this ain't like the old episodes. Man, they used to tell it how it was about the women. They used to keep it real. Yeah. If that's you, listen, you need to rewind this and replay this, because you got some serious work to do internally, because the things that we're talking about is what's going to get you to the true core of fulfillment. We're not talking about getting you a bunch of money, getting you a bunch of women, getting you a bunch of success. We talking about getting you a bunch of peace, a bunch of happiness, a bunch of the goodness inside.
All the fruits.
All the fruits.
That's good.
Nice.
That's good.
Hey, with that being the case, these brothers got family, so we got to get to it, y'all. I really want to pop off this initiation hotline. real quick.
Please, let's bring on fellas. You get
Oh, the fellas
priority.
in here tonight? Fellas get priority. Hey, Delano, this is your first night running the initiation hotline, so you're going to be bringing people up. Here's what we're going to be doing, family. For those of you who have never experienced the initiation hotline, we are about to pin the link to join us here in the chat. I need you to click it. I need you to go backstage, and we will bring you up one at a time. The fellas are getting priority tonight.
Big facts.
Ladies, we love you, so we're going to let you come in here too. But I want some brothers to come in here. You see the topic of conversation. Any questions, make them relevant here. You know we talking Fight in the Flesh this entire series here, so bring your questions here. We got Preston Perry here and Ezekiel Azonwu here on the platform. We going in.
Facts. And while we're getting warmed up, I just want to give you guys a few reminders, because I want you guys to get active while we're getting warmed up for the hotline. We got Preston Perry book, How to Tell the Truth. We giving away 4 signed copies of those. I promise to be freshly signed. I literally got a pen right here for my brother. Remember I told y'all chisels and pens. That's what
Wet
we're working on
ink,
tonight.
baby. Wet
and
ink.
then also, if you want to see my main man right here on stage, Ezekiel Azonwu at the Restore Men's Conference, along with Jared Flowers, Will Jackson, and a bunch of other great gentlemen, then guys, that link is also in the bio. And I'm gonna read some of these super chats. And you know what?
We got the super chats.
We got the super chats coming.
Look, we neglected the super. We're gonna do better on the super chats,
Yeah.
family. I promise.
I don't know if you guys noticed this, but of course we got a new set, and then we also working on some internal things with how we do the streaming. So you can
Yeah.
see the new angles, you can see the way the super chats popping up. We working on all that. And my boy Delano, we've been thinking about getting the camera. He's still under investigation right now.
He ain't reading enough.
It
He
depends.
ain't reading enough.
Right. So let me start with these super chats. So shout out to Jason Addison. He says, really appreciate what you all have been doing for the Lord and for brothers. Long overdue for becoming an initiate. Keep up the blessed work. Appreciate you, my boy. Shout out to Ryan Moten sending it over the super chat. Shout out to one of my very favorites, Janelle. She says 13 months, which is incredible. Hey y'all, I missed you guys. I hope everyone is doing amazing. Shout out to Marla O'Hara hitting 6 months. We love her too. She says, hey family, welcome Just the Romantic, all the new initiates. Welcome Harrison. Shout out to Harrison. Ty and Ryan, thanks for your transparency, your journey, and it has been super inspiring. Let me tell you, Harrison actually is one of our teammates. He is a wizard when it comes to anything that has to do with email.
Big
so
shout
guys,
out.
if you don't know, if you haven't noticed, when you click those links and you sign up, you automatically get entered to get to hear from us, which we do incredible updates,
Right.
testimonials, everything you need to know about. Shout out to Egypt Rodriguez, says this podcast has been a blessing to my life. This is the modern day ministry, and you are reaching many souls. Continue to do God's will, no matter what. We keep going. Shout out to Winter's Lighthouse hitting 1 month. Winter, I love you. 1 month is excellent. If you compromise or not in life, period, there will be people who believe, don't believe, or don't care. It is a struggle either way. Choose him. And my
Yeah.
last one, shout out to Jean Bonnet, 10 months. Jean Bonnet, 10. That's just a solid
Yo,
number.
honestly, man, Ryan made it through that whole joint, no stutter, bro.
But we got one more. When everyone is wounded, the cycle of harm continues. Everyone is bleeding on one another when the answer is to be alone and to heal first. Don't jinx me like that.
Hey,
Listen, y'all
Great job,
been
family.
on fire. This conversation has been just
Oh,
man.
yeah.
This is
I
my
love it. Yo,
like one of my
honestly,
top favorite episodes already. We ain't even done yet.
I really just love, because as men too, we talk a certain way. We like to hear messages a certain way. I don't think a lot of messages or enough messages are really crafted for men by men.
Yeah.
In a way that men can receive it and not feel like they just kind of listening into a conversation for women.
Yeah.
Because I think that's how a lot of the content really is put out here.
Yeah.
So, big shout out to every man that's in the chat right now. Lionel, just give me a thumbs up when we got somebody backstage that's ready to come up here. Oh,
Good.
we got a thumb. Oh, he giving me a
Bring
thumbs
them
up. We
up.
got
And
somebody.
guys, don't forget that Pure 30 challenge. I know y'all said y'all already abstinent. Listen, are you abstinent and doing all the things on our list? If you are, just join the challenge to support your fellow man or woman that's also looking to get better. Lionel, where we at with
Lionel,
it?
are we ready to bring him up? Go ahead, man. Bring him up. You're a little nervous
tips,
back
he
there.
getting
This
tips
is
right
the
there.
first time Delano has ever brought somebody up on stage. We got a little new system here. Let's bring him on up, Lionel. Let's see how it looks. Let me see.
Okay, he's working on it. He's working on it.
He's figuring it out,
In
guys.
the meantime, guys, click the link in the description to join the Pure 30 challenge and get you some help. And guys, I know y'all they mentioned that they trying to because married couples hit me up and say, hey, does it include married couples? I'm like, yes, it does.
Don't worry. We'll ask names. You ain't got to tell us names. We going to bring them up. We're going to talk to them, and we're going to figure out who we talking to, Lano.
Come on, Lano, let's get it right.
Y'all see all these views happening right now. There we go. There she is. You on here, sister. What's your name? Wait, can she hear us? There she go.
Desiree. Oh, she got that voice. Desiree.
Okay, Desiree. So let's go. Let's go ahead and get started here. Let's start with your age, your location, and your question, Desiree.
She on the West Coast.
Nah, I'm originally from Chicago. I moved to Houston. I am 28. And so my question is, I was born and raised in church. And my brother, basically, just long story short, my brother, we all grew up in church. We know how to be like how we are as Christians. We know how to just be a representation to others and shine that light through others. But we all also sometimes fall short, and I don't hold anybody against hold them accountable for that, because we are flesh, so we do things in a matter of that type. But my question is, as far as like my brother, how do you re-evangelize to someone who already know the gospel when they are falling, behind? Like, how do you shine that light back to them without being so giving them a whole bunch of scriptures, without making them feel like you being high and mighty? Because he always tell me like, and really I'm just trying to tell him, like, remind him of who he is as a man. Like, I'm giving you encouragement, like, as a man you shouldn't be treating your body in this type of way. So I try to give encouragement without making him feel like I'm trying to criticize him in a way that makes him feel lower than, and bringing him back to his manhood, allowing him to be, who he is, without being, over the top with it.
So I guess, I mean, we got the master evangelist here.
First of all, this is a great
on the
question
set.
because the ladies are trying to help the men that they with.
So
Yeah.
she pretty much, and I'm gonna sum it up. She got somebody who already had or has a relationship with God, and he fallen off.
Yeah.
How do you bring him back?
That's a good question. Well, man, my grandmother used to always say, people don't care what you know until they know that you care. Did she say something?
No, she was just, she felt that. She
Oh,
said, oh.
Yeah,
I thought she was trying
she got the sound effects going. Hey, listen, you hit. That's when you hit them.
okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, people don't care what you know until they know that you care. And I think a lot of times when we love God and we want others to love God, I think that what they can feel is, man, you don't even see me. You just want me to worship the God that you serve. And it's like, the thing about Jesus, though, is that Jesus came and led with his humanity. And I think a lot of times we want to just remind people about God, but we don't also want to just lead with our humanity. And I think a lot of times we're ineffective to the people who aren't walking with the Lord because we have some type of life that feels like not obtainable to them. And so, like, I think leading with your humanity. I think a lot of times when we want people to know the Lord in our family or whatever, we feel this pressure to have a gospel conversation to them every single time they come in the room. Right, which creates this pressure, right? And so I think that, I would just encourage you to love him.
Can you still hear us?
Okay.
Okay, she can hear us. We're good.
So love him well. That was good, man. Come on.
By the way,
let's go in.
did you hear what Preston broke down?
No, I didn't hear it.
It was glitching out. I think we
Yeah.
having some issues. Lano, let's drop this here. I think actually the virtual is messing with the Wi-Fi here. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to let you go. We're gonna answer the question though. So just go ahead. We're gonna drop you off to
Thanks.
make sure the Wi-Fi is good. But much love to
All
you,
right.
sister. Okay?
Great question.
Bye.
So and that went out for me, Lano. The Wi-Fi has been tripping in here with us, family. We getting it. Look, we're gonna get it taken care of.
Oh yeah,
It's a lot
listen.
putting
We
this
getting
together
that
live,
fiber
man.
optic. They coming next week.
okay.
That
They
fiber,
coming, they
yeah.
coming Thursday, not next week. They coming Thursday.
Hardwire.
But absolutely.
Right.
But you were in the middle of
Yeah.
answering. I don't know if the people heard you. Could you just really run that back for me, please?
Yeah. I would just say, people don't care what you know until they know that you care. And so, like, if people are convinced that all we want them to do is digest or take in the information that we want them to know, and they don't truly feel seen by us, there is a temptation to reject the message, right? And so I think when Jesus tells his disciples to be wise as serpents but harmless as doves, he said, man, discern how to give truth to each person. We're not all the same, right? Everybody's
Right.
not the same, right? And so, like, he's saying, be discerning in how you give the truth. And so, like, figure out his desires, figure out his needs, figure out the things that makes him nervous or scared. Like serve the whole person. Just don't look at his sin, because if you just look at his sin, he doesn't feel seen, right? He just thinks that when you see him, all you see is the things that he's doing wrong. And so I think that Jesus came and modeled a different type of love to the people that he led. He made sure he saw the whole person. And because they felt seen by Jesus, Jesus was able to lead them and give them the right words when the time called for it. So pray for a good time to give them the gospel when the time calls for it. But in the meantime, love him well, holistically, not just his sin. Love him.
This is what I'm gonna ask too. I want the family here, because of the internet, I want all of your questions to come in via super chat. Just send them in so we can go ahead and read them that way. I don't want to disturb the Wi-Fi. While y'all getting that rolled in, I actually kicked to a question here for you as well, because what would you say to, I want to add another layer of that, because I know, now that I know your background, which is actually very helpful because we come from very similar backgrounds.
Yeah.
The reality of it is, God just doesn't really resonate with the young man that is really wayward in the streets and really in the culture. You know, is it that message? It doesn't always connect with him in a way where he can practically digest it. And I think because as men, we're just relatively pragmatic, where we like things that we can understand, apply, and get results from in our life. And a lot of times we don't feel like we can get results from God, right? Yeah. Especially when we explain it with all the biblical, cool Christian lingo that was laced all throughout the Bible. We can tend to, that can just feel like something that's not going to help their current situation that they're in.
Yeah.
So when you talking to a young brother in that way, how do you change your tone, your language, and how do you adjust and connect in a way where it can actually reach the young man that you're speaking to?
Well, one, when I'm giving the gospel to the outside world, I try my best not to go in an environment with my particular lingo, with my particular, church, whatever. I meet them where they're at. Before I left, me and my wife, we co-led a house church on the west side of Chicago called Lawndale. And I was discipling a guy named Shaquille. Shaquille got shot at 17. He was paralyzed from the waist down, had a baby while he was in a wheelchair. Like his wife got pregnant before he got shot or whatever. And I was discipling him. And so what my discipleship looked like with him is I would go over his house, sit in his room with his cousins while they smoking mad weed. Wow. And I would just be in there, and I came in his world, and I loved him, and I served him, and when he had questions, I was ready to answer them.
Man,
that's what discipleship looked like for me when I'm trying to give the gospel to the outside world, right? And because I think that when we come with a particular type of church language, they don't speak that language, right? I grew up. I'm from a place called the Wild Hundreds, and this is where I tell people all the time. It's like, man, you can't, like, you have to not conform to the world, but you have to be wise in how you reach the outside world. Because if you come talking a language that they're not familiar with, you know what I'm saying, like they're gonna reject you, right? And I'm not saying compromise truth. I'm saying being wise on how you give truth, right? Because a lot of times you can give truth and people if they don't like the way you give it to them, they're gonna reject it, right? If you give somebody the truth in the garbage bag and not on a dignified platter, they didn't reject the truth, they just rejected the way you gave it to them. So it's like, we gotta figure out how to give truth to people where they can receive it. And that's what Jesus meant when he says, be wise as serpents but harmless as doves. He meant, go out there and discern how you give the gospel to each person. Yeah. How you give the gospel to a person in Beverly Hills is completely different than how you're supposed to share God to somebody on the south side of Chicago. And so, this is the reason why I said, on the Craig podcast, I said it on my podcast, like, God didn't save me from my culture. God saved me for my culture to reach my culture. And so I know how to go in my culture with the particular lingo, while at the same time being strategic in how I give the gospel. Does that make sense?
No, that makes perfect sense.
That's big facts.
I'm not man, let me tell you, that's the biggest thing. I like you said you answered these questions, because a lot of Christians like to hit you with, because I'm a massively curious person. Even as a kid, I would piss my mom and everybody else off because you tell me something, I'm going to ask why 5 times after you ask me, because that curiosity was always built deeply into me. It's very easy to interview anybody in life. I interview the waitress serving me because that's just naturally who I am. And when you tell me, you start hitting me with the scriptures when I'm asking questions, lean not on my own understanding, and you telling me don't question God and all these different things because I'm asking basic questions you don't have the answer to. That's just not going to connect with me. So that actually makes a lot of sense.
I think perspective is important as well, because you talked about it's guys or women that don't think God is going to give them a result. Well, that's the thing. God does not give results. He gives grace. He gives forgiveness. He gives understanding. He gives vision. He gives direction. He gives guidance. He does not give results. Yeah. So even when people say like God did that, a lot of times it's like, well, you did that. You were self-reliant. You did that, but God gave you the ability to get these things accomplished. So I think that's very important to understand that you got to actually put in work. Yeah. God is going to give you a start. He's going to give you a beginning. And just understanding what actually God is there for, I think you'll understand where you actually get results from. And the thing is, if you put in the work, God is the result. That's the thing. He is the result.
He is the reward.
He is the reward. Exactly.
Come on, y'all preaching in here tonight.
No, that's facts. That's big facts. Did we get any? First of all, they're not rocking with the super chats tonight. We didn't really get any. Let me know if you see anything, because I ain't really got nothing on here.
Here, let me see. Yeah, we got a super chat. Shout out to Andrea. I hope that's pronounced right. Andrea Purry. She says, "Great answer, Preston. What scriptures would you give to a person that is trying to disciple their brother?"
Their brother,
like their literal brother. Let's just assume.
It doesn't matter.
Let's assume.
Right.
Yeah, I would want to know, what are the needs of that particular brother, like what kind of sins or struggles or fears that person is dealing with, because we're all different, right?
Yeah.
I do think that all the scriptures that deals with him belonging to God and his life, needed to turn and to submit his life to a holy and a righteous God, and I think that I'm a big fan of just starting with the gospel. I love the Gospel of John. It teaches us about who Jesus is. It teaches us what Jesus requires from his people. It teaches us how God became a man to condescended to become a man to relate to us. And I think it just gives us a great framework of the nature of God. And so I would start with the book of John, just reading John yourself, and as you learn more about Jesus, just share Jesus with him. And so
there you have it, Vanita. Oh man, Vanita,
I love that.
Shout out to Vanita, man.
Vanita, oh my goodness, I never even seen that purple icon. What is that one? How many months is that?
That's the OG.
That's the OG. Shout out to Vanita. I'm trying to pull this up real quick. VJ. She one of our absolute favorites. She said, "It has been a year. I am so blessed that God allowed me to still be here. My heart is full. I feel so blessed watching the both of you grow your relationship with God. You cannot do anything without him. Put him first no matter what the situation. Love you both." VJ.
Receive, VJ.
Receive. VJ coming in with the love. And guys, because man, y'all fire. Like they got the They on point. So listen, guys, I've been talking about this Pure 30 challenge. We've been talking about it ad nauseum. Preston, he didn't exactly say join the challenge, but he said join the challenge. And so did Ezekiel.
Did I?
Because you got to get right. I said that? You got to get right. Don't forget, we're giving away 4 copies of Preston signed book. We also got Ezekiel's conference coming up, and I want you guys to be there. You need to be there live in person to shake hands and be amongst brothers of like mind, brothers who you are aspiring to get like, really. And guys, we also, listen, I know y'all been asking what's the absolute #1 best way to support Hardly Initiated. The super chats help, by the way. The donations help as well. The #1 way, guys, is to get your very own Fight the Flesh bracelet. Nice. It is a gold implated, what's the word? Gold engraved bracelet that with our mantra for this month and beyond, fight the flesh, to really symbolize your duty to become a better person and to build stronger relationships. Stop pressing that button, please. Let's give up that button. That button does not work. The second way is to go ahead and get a copy or your own very Hardly in Love dating deck, because we're talking a lot about fighting the flesh. Guys, you want to do something wholesome, you want to get some in-depth conversation, well, those Hardly in Love cards going to absolutely do the trick. So getting one or two or both of those 2 products, and also using FIGHT20, that's Fight 20, to get 20% off your order. Like I said, guys, Hardly in Love cards, Fight the First bracelet, #1 way to support the platform. Links in the description. And guys, first of all, I really want to thank you brothers for coming up on here and blessing us with your presence, because y'all really came up here and dropped a classic for the men. I'm upset. I keep telling Tar we need to move the show up to 7 because I can tell they got another hour now. They got another hour. So we're going to have to move the show up a little bit. Hey, it might happen. Y'all let us know in the chat. Should we go a little bit early on the show? Let us know what y'all think about the times of the show.
I just want to say, I've been giving y'all a lot of props, and it's not disingenuous. It's like y'all are really impressive. Yeah. One thing that's really impressive, a lot of people could not have a show this long and it'd be good. Yeah. You do know that, right? Yeah, we do. When we first started our podcast, it was called 30 Minutes with Perry. Then we went to like 45 minutes, and that was pushing it. I could not do this. So you guys have a real gift at navigating conversations, keeping your guests engaged. This is a real skill, because when I saw the schedule, I said 3 hours. I said, hold on, buddy. I said, that's a whole basketball game, bucko. Exactly. This is a gift, so this is tough.
It's really like a masterclass, man. The people, after they watch this, You know, I remember a while ago, let me tell you, a part of the transformation, it was a point when me and Ryan was literally at that point, we was figuring out which way we want to go. What we did an exercise where we pulled our top 10 videos that we wanted, that were our favorites. And we had to determine why it was our favorites and why we wanted to create videos just like them. And we didn't realize all of the videos that we picked, they were very transformational. And it had a very transformational effect on the audience. We even had an exercise where we pulled out comments that we wanted to regularly see. There was this one comment that we pulled out in a video, and it was just so hilarious. We said, this is our favorite. It was a dude literally that commented in one of the videos. He said, I literally just flushed all my weed down the toilet.
I'm all in. That's what it said. I'm all in.
I literally just flushed my weed down the toilet.
Hey,
now that I'm studying
that's
what
big.
that is, bro, that's
big.
Because
I was a weed head. I wouldn't have did that.
to flush your stash.
Dang, could have sold it. But no, he couldn't.
What we didn't realize was
he must have had a dime bag. That's it.
No. He had a sack. The way that, listen, it was in all caps.
Yeah,
it looked like that was a sack.
We got some well-to-do audience members. Yeah, it was a pound. It was a pound. Flush it all down the toilet.
But see, what we realized, that was really repentance.
Yeah,
is really what that was. As I study and see what that was, it's like a renewal, a straight transformation, a turning the other way. I'm no longer moving in this way in my life. I'm about to completely do something different. So now, like you said, the creative art was to figure out how to create a repentance in our culture regularly for people with no relation with God, with a deep relation, and anything else in between.
It's good.
How do we consistently do that? And today it was using you brothers,
man,
as the tools.
Hey, no, but let's not downplay. Look, I remember when I came on the first time. Left him hanging. He had his hand out.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking to you. My bad, my G.
And I know the people in the comments will affirm this. Y'all was dropping straight gems.
Today?
And the passion that y'all was coming with and the truth.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, let me sit back. Why we got these mics? Like, y'all really,
Thank you.
y'all really coming with really things, not just to think about, but I could see that there's transformation in you because some of the questions and the thoughts that you guys are coming with is just really a testament to God doing the real work, and y'all really serious about your journey.
That's fire.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah, I'm gonna be locked in, man. I'm excited to see y'all.
First of all, we're gonna try. I'm hitting Princella right after this episode.
Set that up. He like that'd be such a great show.
I'm really gonna set that up. But family, let me tell y'all something. I appreciate you guys for being in here with us.
One more super chat. Can I get that one?
We
real
got
quick
one
before you
more.
close it out?
I almost closed it out. Let's get to it.
Listen, we got to show love on this one. Just one more super chat. I just pulled it up. Shout out to Dive In with the Divine. As a primary parent of two who's given my life back to God, who also desires marriage, why do men, the world, give a woman like me such a hard time when we're now waiting to have sex for marriage, when that's what God wants all of us to do? She's getting back. Yeah, she's getting back into the swing of things. She's looking to get remarried. Of course, she had a kid, so it's proof that you done had some sex, you know. And now she's saying she's abstinent, and God is upset.
It's really sad, and I hate when I see this, and I never understood it. Men that see women that have had children, that know women have had sex, and once a woman declares, hey, now from this point on, I want to honor God with my body, those men say, well, why do you want to honor God now? It's almost like, oh man, I repented, I assaulted somebody. Well, here's a gun, finish him off. Like,
Right.
It literally makes no sense. It's almost to say you want her to look at herself through the lenses of her immaturity. But if she was to do the same for you, then you would have a problem with it. It's like men, like, I hate to see men that attempt to, one, have this biased perspective of women who have had a history, yet don't hold themselves to the same standard. So again, just like Preston Perry said, men, we have to start, one, taking accountability and leading from that space. If we want our women to be able to live with a resolve, and we want to be able to walk and claim a redemption, then we need to be able to look at our women and say, hey, look, if I could be redeemed, then she could be redeemed. If I could live a life that I could change and I could transform and I can grow, then I can, number one, not just witness when it happens in women, but I could champion it. And not just champion it, I can encourage it to happen. But instead, we're just watching from afar and just being witnesses and like, oh yeah, you have a kid, and now you want, now you want to stop me from having sex? Well, you need to just let me and the boys run a whole train because you had a past. Like, it's disgusting to me. I hate to see it, and man, we got to do better. Like I hate to see that. But go ahead, Preston, if you haven't.
No, I would just quickly echo that. I would say I think that there's a level of gratefulness that needs to happen when a man shows you that he's not capable to lead you now. Because if he can't lead you now, he ain't gonna be able to lead you in marriage. Well, and so when you want a woman to give her body to you when she doesn't belong to you yet, that is poor leadership. And I think that men need to model leadership before we actually become leaders of a woman, right? And so, like, be grateful when a man shows you his hand, right? Because there is a man out there who will love the Lord enough to honor your body and wait for marriage, because you're worth it, because you were created by God and he's worth it, right? And so wait for that man. That man is out there. Be patient. It's unfortunate. I'm sorry that you're going through that, and I know it's hard being a single woman out there. But yeah, like when a man shows you that he's not willing to lead you well now, believe him.
And don't be discouraged that those men see it like that. Like you said, Preston said, look at it as a gift. And two, you're not saving yourself for a man. You're honoring God with your body. I don't believe in the phrase, I'm saving myself for marriage. Why? Because one, you're not saving yourself for marriage, because if you're only saving yourself for marriage, then that means you're saving yourself stops for marriage. And saving yourself means that your purity stops at marriage. No, God is calling you to have a pure approach to sexuality, even in marriage. What does that look like? It means that I don't infuse it with any of my ideas, my thoughts. I let God's way direct me. So when it comes to sex, how I have sex, when I have sex, I let God dictate that. And even afterwards, I'm going to still be pure, honor God in my marriage, because I'm going to be exclusive to my spouse. So this idea, I'm saving myself for marriage, that puts a lot of people in trouble, because when they find a man that says, okay, I'll wait with you, then it's like y'all put yourself in some kind of compromising position that y'all going to be deep in an engagement process. Y'all going to be making macaroni and cheese and God won't be pleased. So honor God with your body, and don't trip if a man is not willing to walk in that and is not honoring God with his body himself. Like, look at it as a gift as well.
Man, great combo, man. It's the heat.
Another one.
Tonight. This episode is so. Listen, every single man, y'all need to send this to your group chat. I know y'all got them freaky group chats y'all be on. What Kendrick Lamar say? Freaky ass. Y'all freaky asses need to share this in that group chat. And because it's some brothers that really need to hear this. And ladies, I hope y'all enjoy this as well. I know y'all love to be a fly on the wall sometimes, but send it to your brother, your father, your cousin, your nephew, because I really think people, especially men, need to hear this message.
Oh, hey, you wild for that, bro.
But yeah,
you a wild boy.
I was gonna have my mama watch it until he said that.
Man, hey, honestly, I really appreciate y'all, because I've personally grown a ton from this information here. I don't know about y'all, but
I am delivered.
Actual experience here. So Ryan's right. Share this joint here, guys. I love and appreciate everybody that continues to help our platform in any way. The last way I will ask contribute is just hit subscribe, because that helps us continue to grow in more ways than you can imagine. We coming back next episode, part 3. My big sis, Stephanie Ike, is going to be joining us here on the platform. So it's going to continue to get crazy, y'all. This is going to be a 6-part series. So y'all stay as we fight the flesh, but hardly initiated. We are out.
Peace.